Chapter 46-43. It was a flame rat that was smaller than a rabbit. It was very common in the outside world and was not very powerful, but it had the ability to control flames. This ability overlapped with the abilities of the big birds. So, in the beginning, when people did not have enough power, most of them chose the flame rat, which was easier to deal with. Later on, when they had the ability to kill the big birds, almost all of them turned into the flames of the big birds. Zichen was a bit surprised. He did not expect to see a flame rat here. Perhaps it was because it saw so many people. But after the flame rat revealed itself, it retracted its head and walked back the way it came. Zichen, who did not know where to go, pointed in the direction the flame rat left and said, "Let's go in that direction." It was said that people were as timid as mice. Now, where the flame rat went, it was relatively safe, right? The others said goodbye to each other and dispersed. During this time, many people went in the direction of the flame rat. Everyone followed Zichen and did not have any objections. "Brother Zichen, take care." Yu Butian cupped his fists in the distance. Zichen nodded in response. Yu, and Mingyue bowed to Yu Butian. When they were in the Moon Clan, he took care of them. The people from the Buddhist realm also came to say goodbye. Then, some people who were on good terms with them also came. There was another opportunity here, so they could not move together. In the end, they all chose a direction. As they moved forward, Zichen looked around. There was a great opportunity here, and whether he could awaken his abilities depended on this place. The Holy Masters and half-step Holy Masters did not appear in that area. There were many of them, so they should be here. Perhaps they would meet soon. The flame rat was in Zichen's perception, so Zichen silently followed it. Perhaps the flame rat would lead him home. That way, would he be able to catch all of the flame rats? Zichen had not killed a flame rat before, but he had eaten rat meat before. It tasted very good. There were many people in his group, so if he could find the flame rat's nest and catch all of them, he would be able to fill his stomach. Zhang Haoqian walked on the left side of the group, while Heifeng walked on the right. They had all awakened their abilities and could deal with unexpected situations. After following the flame rat for several li, the flame rat suddenly burrowed into the ground and disappeared from Zichen's perception range. After losing his target, Zichen heard the sounds of battle. He looked up and saw a group of beasts. It was a herd of deer. Their bodies were comparable to wildebeests, and their bodies were circulating with varying amounts of light. They were rampaging about. Many people who tried to get close were sent flying. Yes, they are capable. Su Mengyao stood in front of Zichen and looked at the battle ahead. There were more than 100 deer in his field of vision, and each of them was glowing. As the lights lit up one by one, their strength increased by a lot. Seems like every one of them is capable. Zichen stood off in the distance and didn't immediately approach. He watched as an astral killed a deer and immediately retreated with the corpse in tow. When he reached a safe area, he opened up the deer's stomach and pulled out a sparkling crystal. There are power crystals. The existence holding the power crystal shouted loudly. He was very excited. There were still many people watching in the distance. After hearing the other party's words, they approached. It seemed like they wanted to catch all the deer here and get all the crystals. Zhang Haoqian was eager to try. He glanced at Zichen and asked, "Should we go?" "Forget it." Zichen shook his head and said, "Let's familiarize ourselves with this place first. As for the crystals, I believe there will be a lot of them." They had just arrived and already encountered a herd of deer. He believed that there would be a lot of opportunities like this. If every crystal represents a different ability, then the deer in front of us must have the ability to increase speed, and maybe even the ability to increase strength. Looking at the battle ahead, Su Mengyao made a simple analysis. Many people surrounded the deer. They really wanted to kill all the deer. Their abilities might not be strong, but they could be refined to increase their own strength. "Let's go." Zichen withdrew his gaze and said, he didn't want to fight here. Since there are deer here, there might be other animals. Since deer have abilities, I'm curious about the abilities of those carnivores. Xing Chen smiled. He came later and had already awakened Xing Chen's ability. Mingyu, Brilliant, Xing Chen, and Lei Ting. Other than Lei Ting, the others had arrived. As for where Lei Ting went, Zi Qin didn't know. Lin Shui, Su Mengyao, Wang Xian, and Shang Guanyu were here. However, Yi Qian didn't appear. Zi Qin wasn't sure if Yi Qian had come in. After that, it was the demon ape, monk, Zhang Haotian, Yuming, and Heifeng. Just when everyone decided to leave, a strong aura suddenly appeared in front of them. Along with the appearance of this aura, everyone felt a strong threat. It came from the direction of the battlefield. Zi Qin turned his head. He saw an even bigger deer running over. It was like the king of the deer. Its speed was even faster. The moment it got close, it knocked the humans away. After landing, they were injured to varying degrees. What fast speed! Many existences with the Speed Shadow Cat ability couldn't dodge it. Zhang Haotian's expression changed. A gap appeared in the original encirclement and the Deer King rushed in. The surrounding teams panicked for a moment, but they soon became excited. With such a big guy, wouldn't the quality of the crystals obtained after killing it be even higher? Zichen thought so too. Because of the Insect King that Mei Ji killed, Zhang Haotian's strength increased greatly. However, the Insect King was difficult to kill. What about the Deer King in front of them? Boundless light lit up under the Deer King's feet. The spiritual energy between heaven and earth began to surge like rolling clouds in the sky. Dozens of lights appeared on the Deer King's body. These lights gathered and intersected in front of its body. Under its feet, a magic array appeared. The magic array seemed to be carved by an ancient magic array master. It was very complicated and emitted a sense of vicissitudes. Under the light of the magic array, the Deer King's body faintly glowed with a green light, as if a layer of green shield was protecting its body. At this moment, the Deer King, who stood in the middle of the magic array, was powerful and terrifying. It raised its two hooves and stomped on the ground. A ripple spread out. Under the effect of this ripple, everyone nearby fell to the ground. The ground shook as if there was an earthquake, rumbling. A few existences in the distance were barely standing. Their bodies were also glowing with light, but there were not many of them. The Deer King's figure suddenly disappeared. Like a green stream of light, it appeared in front of the crowd in the blink of an eye. Along with a series of loud noises, the humans who were still standing were all sent flying. They fell to the ground and coughed up blood, wailing in pain. A group of people was no match for the Deer King. Such a huge commotion did not cause any harm to the surrounding fawns. The light on the Deer King's body receded, and its powerful aura disappeared. It glanced at the people on the ground, but did not kill them. Instead, it turned and left. Before leaving, it looked in Zi Chen's direction. Zi Chen was shocked. It walked at a leisurely pace. It was very elegant as it led its people away calmly. Very strong. Only when the Deer King was far away did someone exclaim beside Zi Chen. If it wanted to kill them, I don't think any of them would have survived. Monk nodded. For some reason, he did not speak much recently. It was not in line with his character. How can it be so strong? Zi Chen was also in disbelief. The light of power on the surface of its body is exceptionally large, Lin Shui said. She had noticed earlier that every person in battle had a light of power on their body. It was just that the Deer King had more of it. There are 99 of them. Su Mengyao looked at the Deer King's departing figure. It had a total of 99 of them. Zi Chen thought back to what Mei Ji had said before. She had said that after coming here, he would be able to clearly see his own strength. Could it be that this was how it appeared? The ability appeared in the form of laws here, forming streaks of power? Did the increase in quantity mean an increase in strength? Zi Chen looked at Zhang Haotian. Whether this was the reason or not, he would know with a try. Zhang Haotian's body lit up. His body, slowly sank into the ground. On the surface of his body, there were 18 streaks of power. Zi Chen looked at Xing Qin. Xing Qin had awakened the power of stars. He emitted a silver glow. There were 14 streaks. Wan Xian, Er's light of sword, was 16 streaks. Green light flowed on the surface of He Feng's body. The light was further divided into 15 streaks of power. The light of power on the surface of everyone's body was different in color and quantity. However, they all appeared in terms of quantity. In the previous area, when they awakened their ability, the light was the same. There were no other differences. After refining the crystals, they could feel their own growth. However, no one knew how much they had grown. But here, everything was clearly displayed. Or rather, it was more concrete. Zi Qin had not awakened his ability. Therefore, he was considered a person without ability. Naturally, there was no light of quantity. The others who had awakened their ability were clearly displayed. Mine is 8 streaks. Pei Wenyao was still in the team. He had the least amount of light. Zi Qin said, "In this way, we have a direction. We have a clearer understanding of our own strength and the strength of our enemies. Whether there is any improvement in the future, it will be clear." Although he said this, the light formation under the Deer King's hooves still gave Zi Qin a great shock. If he was not wrong, the 99 streaks of power were the reason for the Deer King's strength. However, the addition of the light formation also played a significant role. Now, the power was clearly displayed here. While Zi Qin was confident, he was also full of anticipation. When would his ability awaken? Chapter 46-44. The fire rat from before had disappeared, and the Deer King had also left with the herd of deer. Zi Qin and company could only move forward, but they deliberately avoided the Deer King's direction. Based on his perception, the Deer King's combat strength was tyrannical. If he wanted to kill, none of them would have survived. Why did he not kill? Zi Qin could not understand. When they came to a place with a wide field of vision, the group stopped again. Zi Qin walked up to a high ground and looked around. After a while, Zi Qin retracted his gaze. "It's not a good idea to continue walking like this. Let's take a rest first and scout the surroundings." Zhang Haotian left the group and walked into the distance. His ability was not only useful for assassination, but also for scouting. Suddenly, the cry of an eagle came from the sky, and a huge creature swooped down quickly. It was a giant eagle, its feathers the color of steel, reflecting a cold light. Dozens of rays of light appeared on the giant eagle's body, and a powerful aura emerged. The surrounding spiritual energy quickly gathered towards the giant eagle, and an ancient array appeared under its body. Just like the Deer King from before, the giant eagle swooped down. The next moment, the giant eagle soared into the sky. Its claws carried its prey, and the prey's body had nearly 30 rays of light of power. Although they were far away, Zi Qin could still see it clearly, and his expression changed. When the others saw this, their expressions changed as well. Just that prey alone had more light of power than them. The demon ape said in a low voice, "It's an existence comparable to the Deer King." Zi Qin could not retract his gaze until the giant eagle disappeared. "It seems like we shouldn't go too deep for now. Let's just explore this area." Whether it was the Deer King from before or the giant eagle just now, they both had the strength to kill them. They had just arrived in this world and should not have reached the core of this kingdom. If it was so dangerous, what was in the core? Not long after, Zhang Haotian returned, but this time he appeared from underground. His expression was grave. There are many powerful existences, and each of them can condense a light array under their feet. It's not easy to force our way through. I was tracked by a silver wolf, so I came back from underground. Zi Qin nodded and said, "Then we'll stay here for the time being. Let's increase our strength first." Pei Wenyao went out to scout for information. After all, There were many people who came in this time. Perhaps they would find something different. During this time, Zhang Haotian went out again and hunted a deer. This was everyone's food today. I saw the deer king. It also noticed me, but it didn't do anything. Zhang Haotian said hesitantly, "It seems to agree with my actions." Zichen guessed, "Perhaps as long as we don't kill them all, the deer king won't make a move." While Zichen was grilling the meat, Pei Wenyao came back. At present, everyone knows that the depths are dangerous, so they will temporarily stay in this area. They call the people and animals who have awakened their powers the light realm. As for those at the deer king's level, they are called the array realm. To enter the depths, one has to have the strength of the array realm. Pei Wenyao said, "At present, everyone is already planning to join forces to kill a formation realm expert. That was because the grade of the crystals obtained from killing a formation realm expert would be higher, which would help increase everyone's strength. They asked if you would like to participate." Zichen, who was flipping the meat, said, "With everyone's current strength, the success rate of joining forces to kill a formation realm expert is almost zero. Our main goal now is to increase our strength. As for other things, let's not think about it for now." After eating, Zichen continued to refine the crystals. He still had a lot on him. He left the people in charge of guarding him while the others began to refine the crystals. Everyone's light realm power was slowly increasing. A herd of deer was eating grass. Even though they were all ability users, they did not change their nature of being vegetarians. The deer king was not in this group. Suddenly, a deer seemed to have discovered something. It raised its head and looked around vigilantly. Just as it was paying attention to its surroundings, a person suddenly jumped out from the ground. He grabbed its head and twisted it hard. With a cracking sound, the deer lost all signs of life. The other deer saw this and immediately began to run. They did not hesitate to activate their powers. Different powers surrounded their bodies, and their speed instantly increased. At this moment, another person jumped out from the bushes. He instantly approached a deer and punched it in the head. With a bang, the deer was sent flying. After falling to the ground, it struggled for a while before dying. Zichen went forward and dragged the corpse away. Zhang Haotian followed behind, bringing along his prey as well. The two of them had a tacit understanding of each other. Moreover, they often hunted here, so they knew where the deer king's bottom line was. Once these deer were in danger of being wiped out, the deer king would definitely appear. He would not kill them, but would only help them out. Just as they returned to the temporary camp, the devil ape and Xing Qin also came back with their prey. Zichen still had not awakened his ability. Other than him and the monk, everyone else had awakened their abilities. In the past month, everyone's improvement was obvious. Zhang Haotian had refined the Insect King's crystal, so his realm was the highest. Currently, his light of strength had reached 23 rays. The others were slightly slower. However, in the past few days, Zhang Haotian realized that the effect of refining the crystals was not as good as before. He did not know if the crystals had lost their effect or if he had reached a bottleneck. There was a castle in the depths. There were many servants in the castle, and it was very lively. They were all beautiful ladies. They wore extremely thin dresses, and many parts of their fair skin were exposed. There were many guards outside the castle. These guards stood upright on both sides. They were only half the height of a human and looked extremely ugly. They looked like half-beastmen. They were not humans. They were from the Gashan tribe, or rather, the Gashan tribe. A man in white walked out of the castle. He looked sleepy, as if he had just woken up. Wherever he passed, the beautiful women would bow and greet him with a gentle voice. He came outside the castle and looked at the guards. He yawned. "King!" A fox came forward quickly and spoke in human language. "Many humans have come to our kingdom." Oh, the man in white's eyes lit up. "Many?" "Yes, there are many of them." The fox said. The man in white looked into the distance, and his gaze became deep. He nodded. The east wind has arrived. Our plan can be carried out. Immediately give the order to surround and annihilate those humans. The fox looked at the guards on both sides and rolled its eyes. Lord Gashan. The man in white waved his hand. Not for now. Let's see the quality of those humans first. Yes. The fox turned and left. Its walking posture was just like a human. Chapter 46-45. For some reason, the gentle little beasts in the past few days suddenly became irritable. Even the herbivorous deer began to attack. As long as a human approached, they would attack. The originally gentle deer king also appeared frequently and seriously injured many people. The flame rat, the sharp blade dog, and the others were also restless. Everyone noticed this abnormality, but they did not know the reason. Zhang Haotian even went out to investigate, but he did not bring back any valuable information. When you go out, you must travel together. Be careful as much as possible. Zi Chen ordered early in the morning. It was worth mentioning that he still had not awakened his ability. Fortunately, there was still Monk accompanying him. Otherwise, he would be the only one dragging them down. The person who used to be the first was now the last in the team. Fortunately, Zi Chen's strength was not bad, and his speed was not inferior to those who had awakened their abilities. Otherwise, he would really be a burden. Su Mengyao, who was cultivating, opened her eyes. She felt a strong sense of uneasiness, but she did not know why. In fact, she had this feeling a few days ago, but it had become more and more intense. However, there seemed to be a faint force here that blocked her premonition of danger. Retreat! Feeling so uneasy today, Su Mengyao suddenly made up her mind. Everyone retreat! Leave this place! Everyone looked at Su Mengyao, waiting for an explanation. I don't know the details, but I feel that retreating is the right thing to do. Her eyes looked into the distance. There might be a great danger ahead. Zi Chen had gone out to hunt and had not returned yet. Everyone did not know what to do. Monk, who also had not awakened his ability, said, Then let's retreat. Retreat now. I will stay here and wait for Zi Chen. Monk asked again, Where should we retreat to? I don't know. Then let's not worry about it. Just retreat. At this moment, Zi Chen and Zhang Haotian returned from the front with their prey. Along the way, Zi Chen's expression was solemn because today's prey was more murderous and alert. Seeing everyone stand up, Zi Chen was puzzled. Su Mengyao told Zi Chen about her uneasiness and her decision. Without hesitation, Zi Chen said, In that case, let's retreat. Since they didn't have a precise location and target, Zi Chen added, Just retreat until we have nowhere to go. Everyone began to retreat. However, they had only retreated a few miles when Zhang Haotian, who was in charge of bringing up the rear, cried out in alarm. Look! Everyone turned their heads when they heard the voice. They saw countless clouds of dust rising from the distant horizon like a tornado. What is this? Sandstorm. Everyone had doubts in their hearts, but they secretly rejoiced. Everyone had dodged it. At this moment, Su Mingyao's voice sounded again. Retreat! Danger! Zi Chen had his perception, but the smoke had not yet entered the range of his perception, so he did not know what was happening in front of him. However, everyone had absolute trust in Su Mengyao. Thus, they immediately sped up and retreated. The smoke and dust rapidly moved forward, surpassing the speed at which everyone was retreating. Then, the smoke and dust appeared in Zi Chen's perception. It was a silver wolf. Wolf pack. Zi Chen's expression immediately changed. The wolf pack was surrounded by silver light, and each of them had no less than 20 rays of light. In addition, there was an even larger silver wolf. Its body did not release any light, and it was in the center of the pack. Without guessing, Zi Chen knew that it was a silver wolf king with the strength of the formation state. In Zi Chen's perception, the number of wolves was close to 100. It was not something that their small team could fight against. Moreover, the silver wolves were extremely fast. The smoke and dust they brought along was like a sandstorm. Damn it, they're coming for us. Along the way, prey appeared, but the silver wolves ignored them. This made Chin very certain that their target was their group. Soon, the devilish apes also saw the pack of silver wolves behind them, and their expressions changed. In the current team, the most powerful one was Zhang Haojian with 24 rays of light. Among the silver wolves, there were at least 20 rays of light. Not only were there more rays of light, but their speed was also much faster. Chin glanced at Su Mingyao and asked, "Is there a way to get out of here?" "No, we can only retreat." Su Mingyao's Tao of divination was suppressed here, and she could not sense the correct location of the chance of survival. Chen said in a deep voice, "You guys go first. I'll cover you." He held the newly polished bone knife and stared ahead. The wolf bones are harder. It seems that I'll have a more suitable bone knife next. As soon as Chen stopped, everyone stopped as well, no longer running away. "What are you guys doing?" Chen looked at everyone. "There aren't many wolves. We should be able to fight them." The devil ape also had a bone knife in his hand. The others' eyes also became determined. There was no reason to leave Chen alone, because it was obvious that they wanted Chen to die. No one could stop a pack of wolves, not to mention Chen, who had not awakened his powers. Pei Wenyao also stopped, leaving Chen alone. He understood that Chen could only die, let alone the others. At this moment, Pei Wenyao finally understood how important Chen was to them, and how important they were to Chen. He was willing to die for everyone without hesitation, and everyone was the same. To be honest, he was envious, but this kind of friendship was not something to be envied. "All right, let's fight and retreat." On the battlefield, Chen was never a hesitant person. He held the bone knife in his hand and advanced instead of retreating. "It's been a long time since we fought side by side." The devil ape and Chin followed closely behind. The devil ape felt its blood boiling. Zhang Haoyan went underground. The monk took a step forward. He was supposed to be the most active, but he did not express his thoughts. This was rare. Looking at the humans who rushed over, the Silver Wolf King's eyes flashed with ridicule. Chen took a step forward, and as he brushed past a silver wolf, he viciously smashed the demon bone in his hand down. With a crack, the silver wolf's bones were broken by Chen's attack. It fell to the ground and could not stand up again. Chen was not happy that he had made a silver wolf lose its combat ability with one attack. This was because it was very strenuous. Under the situation where he had not awakened his powers, he had to rely on pure strength. He could only use this kind of attack a few times. Moreover, the bone knife in his hand cracked after just one attack. On the other side, the devil ape and Chin had already rushed forward. The two of them each faced a silver wolf. The powerful shock waves caused the silver wolves to fly backward. Both of them felt their hearts sink. This time it was really not good. Chapter 46. There were more than 100 silver wolves, and each of them had more than 20 rays of light surrounding them. Bam! 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 The silver wolves that surrounded them were sent flying one after another. Chin had a few more wounds on his body. He believed that his physical defense was pretty good, but the wolf claws were sharper. The monk threw a heavy punch on the silver wolf's head, sending it flying for more than 10 feet. The silver wolf fell to the ground and rolled. The light on its body dimmed a little, but it didn't die. It got up, swayed its body a few times, and shook its head a few times. After it regained consciousness, it launched another attack. Uft! Zhang Haotian, who knew how to conceal himself, appeared in front of a silver wolf in an instant. The bone blade in his hand immediately pierced through the silver wolf's chin. The silver wolf's body started to struggle unconsciously. Zhang Haotian pulled out the bone blade, and disappeared. Jie! Jie! The demon ape let out a bloodthirsty cry. The beast bone in its hand smashed forward crazily, repelling the silver wolves one after another. But it only repelled them. Wang Xian held a long bone spear in her hand. 20 rays of sword intent flowed on the bone spear, making it even colder. Uft! She pierced the eye of a silver wolf that pounced over, and the bone spear went straight into its brain. Wang Xian retreated, and the silver wolf landed on the ground. At the place where she was standing, a few silver wolves' attacks missed. The bone blade in Zi Chen's hand shattered, and the second silver wolf was killed by him with all his strength. His right hand was trembling, and his face was pale. These silver wolves weren't like the cats and dogs from before. They were hard to kill. Su Mengyao waved her sleeves gently, and a hazy light swept across. The few silver wolves that attacked Zichen were sent flying by a huge force. Netherworld bit the neck of a silver wolf. He was entangled with the silver wolf's body, and they kept rolling around. Beside it, a hurricane appeared and swept away the approaching silver wolves one by one. Netherworld had been with Heifeng all these years, and they cooperated very well. A green light flashed in front of Lin Shui. She cooperated with Shang Guanyu, to fight against the silver wolves. Brilliant light shot out in all directions, and it was extremely dazzling. The powerful attacks injured the silver wolves one by one. Ming Yu was beside her, and the two of them cooperated. As for Pei Wenyao, he attacked while dodging. He was mostly trying to protect his own life, because with his strength, as long as he faced the silver wolf head-on, he would most likely be killed. There were a lot of silver wolves, and under the situation of a swarm, it was very difficult to kill one in an instant. Although everyone had awakened their abilities, they did not have much light of power. Coupled with the fact that they did not have a suitable weapon, this battle was exceptionally difficult. The Silver Wolf King stood in the distance, silently watching the battle. These humans couldn't even fight against its subordinates, let alone a king like it. There was brutality in its eyes. It glanced at Su Mengyao and the other women from time to time. No one knew what it was thinking. It was an intelligent creature, but it couldn't speak yet. Pum! Zi Chen's fist landed, forcing a silver wolf to retreat. At the same time, several wounds appeared on his body. When he turned around, he saw that almost everyone was wounded, and less than 1/10 of the silver wolves had died. They couldn't hesitate any longer. If they continued to fight, they would all die. Retreat! Zichen shouted. All of you retreat immediately. Facing such a dangerous situation, death was inevitable, so Zichen decisively made a choice. No retreat. The devil ape's eyes stared ahead. What haven't we seen before? Why would we care about these silver wolves? At this moment, the devil ape had many wounds on its body. Some of them were so deep that bones could be seen. Even if I die here, I won't retreat. All of you go first. The others did not speak, but their resolute attitude made everything clear. Because everyone knew that at this moment, whoever stayed would die. This world is more dangerous than I imagined. Everyone retreat immediately, or we will all die here. Zichen said angrily, When that time comes, we'll avenge the dead. Seeing that everyone was still unmoved, Zichen said again, Mengyao, take everyone and retreat. Su Mengyao's eyes showed hesitation. All of you retreat. Zichen and I will stay here. Don't worry, I have a way to bring him back. This time it was Zhang Haoyan who spoke. The current situation forced them to retreat. This was a choice between all of them dying or some of them dying. In just a few short sentences, more wounds were added to everyone's bodies. The Silver Wolf King in front seemed to have sensed everyone's intentions. It, who was originally just watching the battle, suddenly walked forward. Seeing this, Zichen shouted, Let's go! These silver wolves were no match for it. Once the king attacked, everyone would die. Suddenly, a powerful aura emerged from the Silver Wolf King. This aura made everyone's expression change, and the spiritual energy between heaven and earth gathered towards it. 99 rays of light appeared, and a light array appeared under the Silver Wolf King's feet. It was indeed the Array realm. Feeling the powerful aura in front of him, Tyrant sighed and said, "All of you stop fighting. Everyone retreat immediately and leave me alone." Zi-Chin looked at Tyrant, puzzled. Tyrant said with a calm expression, "Believe me, I can do it. Everyone leave. Don't leave anyone behind." Tyrant's condition wasn't normal, and it wasn't a day or two ago. For example, he rarely refined crystals. Although his shamelessness was still there, his greedy nature had faded a lot. Other than that, Tyrant's behavior was normal, so Zi-Chin didn't suspect him. He just felt that Tyrant was the same as him, who hadn't awakened his powers. He, who loved to save face, was a little depressed. Looking at the calm Tyrant, Zi-Chin clearly felt that something was wrong. So did the others. "Hurry up and leave, or we'll die!" Tyrant shouted and rushed forward. "Don't look back, keep going." Light appeared on Tyrant's body as he rushed forward. That was the sign of an ability. Could it be that Tyrant had awakened his powers? When did this happen? 1 ray, 2 rays, 3 rays of light appeared on Tyrant's body. These rays of light weren't golden, nor were they Buddhist lights. They were black. They were extremely pure and surged with an evil aura. The number of rays of light was still increasing. In the blink of an eye, it had reached 20 rays. This was the highest level of the team. However, this wasn't the end. It was just the beginning. The rays of light continued to appear, and the speed was extremely fast. 25, 30, 35, 40. 48 rays. Not only did Tyrant awaken his powers, but his power had also reached a terrifying 48 rays. Obviously, it wasn't a day or two ago that Tyrant had awakened his powers, but he didn't tell everyone. Why didn't he tell them? Zi-Chin only took a glance and knew the reason. Under the shroud of the black aura, Tyrant seemed to have turned into a demon. Under such circumstances, it was uncertain if Tyrant could still maintain his rationality. Therefore, Zi-Chen decisively signaled everyone to retreat. As they retreated, Zi-Chen saw Tyrant being surrounded by a pack of silver wolves. However, in the next moment, it was like a bomb had exploded. A powerful aura wreaked havoc, and those silver wolves that had stepped forward were all sent flying. Tyrant, who was surrounded by black light, rushed toward the Silver Wolf King. Chapter 46-47. Boom! Heaven and earth seemed to tremble, and a visible ripple spread out in all directions. The nearby silver wolves, the corpses on the ground, and the flowers and grass were all swept away. Only the monk and the Silver Wolf King were left in the field. There was a difference of 1 realm between the two, so the number of light of power was quite different as well. However, the monk was able to block the attack of the Silver Wolf King. Zi-Chen and the rest had already retreated far away. He knew the monk very well. He had awakened his power, but did not explain it because he could not control it. That was the evil intention, the evil of good and evil. The monk was not in the right state because he had awakened the evil intention first. How could he suppress the evil intention without the good intention? This was also the main reason why he rarely refined the crystals. He was afraid that he would lose control. "Let's go!" Zi-Chin looked back again. The silver wolves had surrounded the monk again. Zhang Haotian, stay behind and watch the monk. After saying that, everyone retreated decisively. Zhang Haotian nodded. He drilled into the ground and approached the battlefield. Zhang Haotian appeared not far from the battlefield and looked at the monk who was showing his power. Only the monk in the light realm was able to fight evenly with the Silver Wolf King. The surrounding silver wolves were eyeing the monk covetously, waiting for an opportunity to strike. At this moment, the corpses of the silver wolves were scattered around Zhang Haotian. The monk was full of energy and should be able to hold on for a while. Fortunately, Zhang Haoqian went directly to the periphery and began to secretly harvest the silver wolf's crystals. This would be very useful for his future cultivation. Of course, the prerequisite was that they could avoid this disaster. Another explosion came from afar. The nearby silver wolves were sent flying again. A few of them were injured and could not stand up for a long time. Zhang Haoqian used his concealment technique and quietly approached them. He gave them a fatal blow and then took the crystals away and continued to hide. He was like a thief on the battlefield, specializing in stealing the silver wolf's crystals. Awoo! Perhaps the Silver Wolf King was really angry because it could not defeat the monk after a long time. After being forced back by the monk, it let out a long howl toward the sky. Then another howl came from the horizon. There was smoke and dust on the horizon again. Zhang Haoqian saw another pack of wolves appear in his field of vision. They were flying over quickly. As they got closer, Zhang Haoqian could clearly see that the corners of these wolves' mouths were stained with blood. They should have participated in the battle. Among these silver wolves, there was also a wolf king. Zhang Haoqian's expression immediately changed. This was not good. A portion of the wolves charged towards the monk while the rest continued to charge forward. It was the direction Ziqin and the others had left in. The two wolf kings went up against Tyrant. With them joining hands, Tyrant had no chance of winning. In an instant, the monk was at a disadvantage. Zhang Haoqian gritted his teeth and approached the monk. Bang! The powerful shockwave sent Tyrant's body flying. When he landed on the ground, he coughed out blood. At this moment, there were dozens of wounds of various sizes on his body. However, he did not feel the slightest bit of pain. As he stood up, he once again launched an attack at the Wolf King. His aura was filled with evil intent. His eyes had turned black, and his expression was extremely cold. He no longer had the appearance of a treasure. There was only slaughter, endless slaughter. The other silver wolves did not dare to approach at all. Once they did, they would die. Tyrant seemed to have turned into an emotionless fighting machine. After falling to the ground, he stood up again, no matter how serious his injuries were. However, facing the pincer attack of the two wolf kings, Tyrant's condition was getting worse and worse. In the end, he directly fell to the ground in the distance, his body motionless. This time, he could not even stand up. The two wolf kings waited for a while, but still, the figure in the grass did not stand up. The other silver wolves immediately rushed forward and soon found that there was no one there. The two wolf kings were obviously stunned. When they came closer, they found that the human on the ground was indeed gone. Woo! The wolf king let out a howl. It was unknown whether it was out of anger or some other emotion. Then, the two groups of wolves joined forces and chased in the direction Ziqin and the others left. Ziqin and the others were still retreating. No one knew how long they would have to retreat for. At this moment, everyone had wounds of different sizes on their bodies. Some were deep and some were shallow. For such a group, it was extremely rare to see such serious injuries. Even when they were adventuring in the past, they were not in such a sorry state. If they were in the saint spirit realm, each of them would be able to hold their own. However, in this place, they were almost annihilated when facing just over 100 wolves. Everyone's mood was very heavy. They looked back from time to time. They did not see any silver wolves, which meant that Tyrant had stopped them. They were relieved and worried at the same time. "They're here." Devil Ape's voice sounded. Smoke and dust appeared in their field of vision again. Everyone's heart sank. The silver wolves were here again. What about Tyrant? What about Zhang Haoqian? Hurry up! Ziqin gritted his teeth. Now was not the time to be sad. They could only try their best to escape. However, there was nothing else along the way. How could they escape? Perhaps they would soon follow in Tyrant's footsteps. Ziqin, who had been feeling good along the way, now felt regretful. His awakening ability was too slow. Otherwise, everyone would not have been so passive. There's a sea of flowers in front. Let's go. Su Mingyao's eyes lit up when she saw a patch of vegetation in front of them. The vegetation was filled with colorful flowers. The silver wolves behind them were getting closer. They were less than 300 feet away. Not only were they all here, but their numbers seemed to have increased. In Zichen's perception, there were actually 2 wolf kings inside. The sea of flowers was a path that everyone had to pass through. They could only charge forward. However, could the vegetation stop the silver wolves? Obviously not. They were the first ones to stop them. After entering the range of the sea of flowers, their speed slowed down. However, there was also an advantage. The vegetation here affected the silver wolves' speed. If there was no way to retreat, this would be a good place to fight to the death. Although the end result might be that everyone was annihilated. Let's fight to the death here. Zichen turned around and looked at the approaching wolves with a murderous look in his eyes. At this moment, Zichan was shocked to find that the wolves had stopped and did not approach the sea of flowers. The others also noticed the situation and were very puzzled. The silver wolves stopped outside the sea of flowers for a moment and then retreated bit by bit. Zichen saw fear in their eyes. The silver wolves were terrified. What was in the sea of flowers? Or could it be that there was something behind them? Chapter 46-48. Turning around, Zichan saw a bunch of blooming flowers standing tall. The petals and stamens were like human faces looking down at them from above. Originally, the flowers were only half the height of a person. Unexpectedly, they had grown so tall, like living creatures that could open their mouths at any time and reveal their sharp fangs. They had not escaped from the wolf's mouth, but now they had entered the tiger's mouth. The others' expressions changed. They stood there, not daring to move. Who would have thought that there would be danger in this field of flowers? The silver wolves let out low growls and slowly retreated. After some consideration, they seemed to be giving up on pursuing Zichen's group. Seeing that even the silver wolves did not dare to approach them, Zichen became even more worried. Whoosh! At this moment, Zhang Haotian drilled out from the ground, carrying the monk who had fainted and was covered in blood. However, as soon as he appeared, Zhang Haotian stood there, motionless. In an instant, more than a dozen flowers appeared around him, eyeing him covetously. The flowers had slender branches, like poisonous snakes raising their heads. Zhang Haotian glanced at Zichen and asked with his eyes. Zichen had a helpless expression. Woo! The Silver Wolf King let out a long howl. The silver wolves began to retreat decisively and soon disappeared. They retreated just like that. Zichen's group did not feel relieved. Instead, they felt even more nervous. These dangerous flowers had yet to launch an attack. They could not continue like this. Everyone's injuries needed treatment, and they could not afford to waste time. Zichen planned to retreat slowly so as not to provoke them. It's fate to be here. Why don't you come and sit? At this moment, a light voice sounded. The flowers in front of them began to sway, and countless petals flew up. A woman in a long white dress leisurely walked over amidst the dancing petals. The fragrance of the flowers filled the air. Zichen held his breath, worried that it was highly toxic. Don't be nervous. I mean you no harm. The woman smiled gently and looked at the group with her long and narrow eyes. She's so beautiful that it makes people jealous. She glanced at the faces of Su Mengyao and the others, and then looked at the others. Finally, her eyes rested on Zichen. Looking at the alert Zichen, she repeated, Don't be nervous. I mean no harm. Zichen didn't say anything. The flowers on both sides were like human faces, eyeing him covetously. If this was called no malice, then Zichen really didn't know what was. Most importantly, the silver wolves that could kill them had retreated. The flowers here were obviously more terrifying than the silver wolves. What about this woman? My name is Mild Fragrance. The woman gently waved her hand, and the flower immediately returned to its original state, swaying with the wind. Everything returned to normal. Don't worry, I don't have any ill intentions. If I did, you guys wouldn't be alive. Danqiang stood in the middle of the sea of flowers and looked at them quietly. Zichen. Zichen cupped his fists and said, "Thank you for saving my life. Since you're here, why don't you come to my place?" Mild Fragrance said, "And if you leave now, you might encounter the silver wolves of Gashan. Then I'll have to trouble you." Zichen cupped his fists again. In the current situation, they had no choice but to go. "Follow me." Mild Fragrance turned around and led the way. Her slender fingers swayed between the flowers as if she was playing a zither. The flowers began to sway and release rays of light. These were all fluorescent pollen, and they carried a unique fragrance as they scattered in the surroundings. When everyone smelled the fragrance, they were shocked. The pollen that fell on their bodies actually stopped bleeding when it touched their wounds. Some small wounds even healed at a speed visible to the naked eye. It was a miracle. This was the goodwill shown by Mild Fragrance. Zichen cupped his fists again and was about to thank her. Mild Fragrance said, "You're welcome. It's fate that you guys can come here. I believe in fate." Zhang Haotian carried Monk and walked at the back. The black gas that was circulating around Monk's body had disappeared. He, who had fainted, was breathing steadily as if he had fallen into a deep sleep. The flowers on both sides swayed and made way for everyone. Walking in the sea of flowers, Mild Fragrance was like a flower fairy. There was nothing else here except for flowers. The flowers were colorful and varied. At a glance, it was as if they were in a sea of flowers with no end in sight. Countless pollen fluttered in the air. Su Mengyao and the rest gradually calmed down and began to appreciate this rare scene. A smile appeared on everyone's face. Women in the world seemed to like beautiful things. Even Devil Ape and the rest gradually let down their guard. Finally, Zichen saw a building. It was a wooden building with 2 floors. The surroundings were filled with flowers like a greenhouse. There was a small fenced courtyard outside. The fences were also filled with flowers of various colors. Mild Fragrance invited everyone into the small courtyard and into a room. She personally poured tea for everyone. It was a type of flower tea. It was not as simple as just 100 types of flowers. It was the best among the hundreds of flowers. The tea was good, but Zichen still did not let down his guard. Why did this woman, who lived in the sea of flowers, want to save them? Why did she invite them back? After all, they did not know each other. Zichen suddenly had a guess in his heart. Could it be that under the sea of flowers, corpses were buried? And the reason why the sea of flowers was flourishing was because corpses were used as nutrients? Mild Fragrance looked at Zichen and seemed to have guessed his concern. "Don't worry. I have no ill intentions towards you. After drinking the tea, you can stay here and heal your injuries first. As for any questions you have, we can talk about them after your injuries are healed." After saying that, Mild Fragrance left, leaving Zichen and the rest in the room. Everyone looked at Zichen. Zichen said, "Heal your injuries first. We can talk about it after your injuries are healed." Zhang Haotian took out some crystals that were dug out from the silver wolf. Each of them was of high quality. These crystals could help everyone heal their injuries and also increase their strength. Su Mingyao's injuries were the first to recover. She walked out of the greenhouse and came to the sea of flowers. Her mind was clear and relaxed. She took a deep breath. Her beautiful face was filled with intoxication. Suddenly, Su Mengyao opened her eyes and looked at the sea of flowers in front of her. Her face was filled with doubt. After a moment, she walked forward. During this time, she was very careful. She came to the center of the sea of flowers and looked ahead quietly. The flowers here were colorful. Those who did not love flowers would not be able to distinguish the species. She stood there and looked quietly. Looking at the flowers in front of her, she fell into deep thought. The flowers swayed and countless pollen flew into the air, circling in the air. Dan Xiang appeared behind Su Mengyao without a sound. Chapter 46-49. Pale Fragrance quietly looked at Su Mengyao, and Su Mengyao also quietly looked ahead. Is this really fate? Pale Fragrance muttered in her heart. Her figure disappeared and did not disturb them. Su Mengyao felt something in her heart, but when she turned around, she saw nothing. Pale Fragrance returned to the greenhouse. This time, she brought many fruits that could satisfy everyone's hunger. These were very rare things. At least when they were outside, no one could find them. Let's eat something first. Pale Fragrance's beautiful face always had a gentle smile. If you recover from your injuries, you can walk around. It might be helpful in increasing your strength. Zi Chen thanked her. The others also nodded at Pale Fragrance. Leaving the greenhouse, Pale Fragrance walked towards Su Mengyao. Su Mengyao was still looking at the sea of flowers in a daze. What are you thinking about? Pale Fragrance's voice came from the side. She sat beside Su Mengyao. Nothing. Su Mengyao shook her head. You've been looking here for a long time. What are you looking at? Pale Fragrance asked again. I don't know. I keep feeling that there's something interesting here, but I can't see it. Su Mengyao chuckled, then turned to look at Pale Fragrance. Why did you save us? Do you believe in fate? Pale Fragrance did not answer her question. Su Mengyao nodded. Of course, she was new to fate. She had always felt that it was fate that brought her together with Zichen. It's fate that brought you here. Even a simple gesture is also because of fate. Faint Fragrance smiled and said, Fate is a very mysterious thing, isn't it? What is this world? Looking at the beautiful flowers in front of her, Su Mengyao asked this question. I originally wanted to tell Zichen. If you want to know, I can tell you first. Forget it, I'll tell him. After Pale Fragrance left, Su Mengyao continued to sit there in a daze. Monk woke up from his deep sleep. He looked around vigilantly. When he saw his friends, he let out a sigh of relief. Pain still came from his body. He sat up. Everyone's gaze fell on Monk. Since you're awake, heal your wounds first. Zi Chen's calm voice sounded. The monk quickly glanced around. Other than Su Mengyao, he found that everyone was there, and they were in good condition. Where is this? The monk asked in a hoarse voice. It's a long story. Heal your wounds first. The Silver Wolf's crisis has been resolved. It's very safe here, Zichen said again. Zhang Haotian threw a crystal over, and the monk caught it. After using the evil spirit, he forgot everything. His consciousness was out of control, and he didn't even know if he would still be alive. This was also the reason why he had always been unwilling to admit this ability, because it could only be used once, and his life and death would be out of his control. Furthermore, he was the good and evil monk. Why did the evil thoughts appear, but the good thoughts did not? He had always thought that he was kind, but he never thought that he would be slapped in the face by reality. After Mild Fragrance delivered 2 more fruits, Zi Chen's injuries were fully healed. At this point, with the exception of Tyrant and the demon ape, everyone else had recovered from their injuries and had gone to the Sea of Flowers. Zi Chen stood up, glanced at the 2 of them, and walked out. Wang Xian, and the rest were playing in the Sea of Flowers, looking very happy. Su Mengyao sat alone in the Sea of Flowers, lost in thought. Xing Chen and the rest were not admiring the flowers, but they were unwilling to stay in the flower room. Moreover, Mild Fragrance had said that walking in the Sea of Flowers would be helpful for cultivation. Zi Chen looked at everyone. After recovering from their injuries, everyone was in good condition. Xing Chen saw him and nodded at him from afar. Lin Shui was waving at him. Zi Chen walked in another direction. At this moment, he had many doubts in his heart that needed answers. Mild Fragrance came to Zi Chen's side and said, I know you have a lot of questions. You can ask them slowly. I have a lot of time, so there's no hurry. Zichen opened his mouth, but he didn't know what to say. He had many questions before. Is this the Paradise Kingdom? Zichen asked in the end. You can say so. Zichen was puzzled by Mild Fragrance's ambiguous answer. In the past, this was indeed the Paradise Kingdom. However, with the passage of countless years, the kingdom has changed greatly. Although it still has the foundation of the Paradise Kingdom, its area has expanded by a lot and it has changed its name. Mild Fragrance paused for a moment and said, Now, this place is called the Gashan Empire. The place you are now in is a region of the empire called the Geduin region. Geduin is the king of this place. Those silver wolves are his subordinates. Zichen asked, If the silver wolves are controlled by someone, why did he attack us? Not to you, but to everyone who came here. As for the reason, I don't know the details. Mild Fragrance hesitated for a moment before saying, However, I heard that the greatest wish of those kings is to be able to leave this place. His attack on you might have something to do with this. What is Geduin's realm? Zichen asked again. Mild Fragrance said, What is his realm? He's now a king, which is equivalent to the king of the Paradise Kingdom. Is it the Array realm? Zichen asked again and explained the realm that everyone agreed on. That's an interesting way to put it. Mild Fragrance smiled and said, However, he's neither in the light realm nor the Array realm. He's in an even more powerful realm. You probably haven't seen him yet. What about you? I'm the leader. I don't have any realm. Who's stronger between you and Geduin? We haven't fought. This is my territory. I rarely go out, and Geduin almost never comes out. So it's impossible for us to fight. Then, can you tell me about your realm? What level of power will change when it reaches? In your words, the limit of the light realm is 49 strands of power. Exceeding 49 strands will condense into a light array. At that time, your combat strength will greatly increase. Mild Fragrance stretched out her hand and pointed forward. Countless pollen gathered in front of her and turned into a silver wolf. At this moment, the silver wolf's body was flowing with power. First, it increased from 1 strand to 40, and it didn't stop there. After the 49th strand, it suddenly stopped increasing. Mild Fragrance explained, This is a hurdle. It'll be a little difficult to cross it. Then she pointed her finger again. The illusory silver wolf in front of her had an additional strand of power. After this strand of light appeared, a light array condensed under the silver wolf's feet. It was just like the Deer King. Then the strands of power increased again and stopped at 99 strands. This is also a hurdle, and it's a big one. The 100th strand of power appeared on the silver wolf's body. After this strand of power appeared, all the light circulating around the silver wolf's body disappeared. The light array under its feet seemed to become a real existence and began to operate. At this step, the light array is completed and can operate on its own. Chapter 4650. The light array spun under the silver wolf's feet in the air. A steady stream of power gathered towards the silver wolf's body, as if it was inexhaustible. The 100 rays of power on its body had all disappeared, leaving only the light array under its feet. What's next? Zichen didn't expect the realm to evolve like this. It's already very difficult to reach this step. It'll be even more difficult to go further. Light Fragrance explained, As for what's in the future, you'll have to figure it out yourself. Looking at Zichen's confused expression, Light Fragrance said, You're outsiders and are different from us. Our path may not be suitable for you. Zichen nodded to show that he understood. Light Fragrance turned around and looked into the distance where Su Mengyao was. Don't say I didn't warn you. If you have nothing to do, go out and explore. Maybe you'll find a lot of good things. The friendliness of this world to outsiders is beyond imagination. Compared to other places, we believe in fate more. As long as fate arrives, the opportunity will come. It wasn't the first time Zi Qin heard the word fate. Mei Ji said the same thing. Could this world be about fate? Fate is very mysterious. Look, she's fated to be here. Light Fragrance waved her hand gently. In front of Su Mengyao, hundreds of flowers swayed and parted to the side. A blue and white flower appeared in the air and bloomed in front of Su Mengyao's eyes. Su Mengyao's eyes lit up and her heart was suddenly enlightened. It was as if the thing she had been waiting for finally appeared in front of her. She reached out to touch it. The next moment, the blue and white flower cut off its roots and disappeared. It then appeared in Su Mengyao's hand. It's a phantom spirit, something that appeared naturally. It hasn't bloomed for many years, but after you came in, it suddenly bloomed. For the past few days, Su Mengyao sat there every day and accelerated its growth. Now it can't wait any longer. This is fate. At this moment, Su Mengyao turned around. Her beautiful face was filled with a joyful smile. "Sister, what's that?" Xue Lin whispered. Everyone else also noticed the abnormality and looked at Su Mengyao. The next moment, Su Mengyao appeared next to Xue Lin. She gently shook the blue and white flower in her hand and smiled. Then, Su Mengyao appeared beside Wang Xian. And in front of you. Zi Chen stood in the distance and watched. His expression changed little by little because Su Mengyao, who had turned around to look at him first, was still there. Several Su Mengios around him were also present. Is it an illusion? Suddenly, Zi Chen's vision blurred. Su Mengyao was right in front of him, winking at him playfully. In Zi Chen's perception, the Su Mengyao in front of him was the real one, so the others should be fake. Just as Zi Chen was about to give her a hug, Su Mengyao disappeared, and so did the others. Only the one who had turned around was standing there. It turned out that she hadn't moved at all from the beginning to the end. This? Zi Chen used surprise to cover up his awkwardness. This is fate. Pale Fragrance covered her mouth and smiled. Wang Xian, and the others gathered around and chattered excitedly. Is that a weapon? Zi Chen asked. Kind of, but it's not refined. It's natural, Pale Fragrance said. Zi Chen's expression changed slightly. You know about weapons. No one had used refined weapons in this world, or rather, there were no refined weapons in this world. Gaduin has a weapon that was passed down a long time ago. It's said to be very powerful. Pale Fragrance said, in addition, there are many strange things in this world that can be used to assist, such as the phantom you saw before. But the phantom is more compatible with Su Mengyao than I thought. So fate is very important. Zi Chen nodded. He believed in fate. Because of fate, he had been saved twice since he came here. In a cave, Cheng Ho was lying there, snoring from time to time. "Io, my lord, why are you still asleep?" A shrill voice rang out as a huge flame rat ran in. The snoring stopped. Cheng Ho, who was woken up, opened his eyes and looked at the other party with dissatisfaction. "My lord, didn't I ask you to leave? Why are you still sleeping here?" The flame rat came up to him and scratched his chin. "It's so comfortable here. Why should I leave?" Cheng Ho said, "My lord, this is just a rat hole. It's damp and dark. It's really not suitable for a noble lord like you." The flame rat pleaded, "My lord, I think you should leave. You can't be so self-deprecating. Although this is a rat hole, it can at least shelter you from the wind and rain. I've decided to stay here." When the flame rat heard this, he was almost scared to tears. "Master, you can't joke about this. The Gushan people are looking for you all over the world. It won't be long before they find this place. When that time comes, not only will you die, but I will also die with you. I'm still young and have a long life ahead of me. I don't want to die. They're just Gushan people. I can kill them with one punch. Don't worry." Cheng Ho tried to calm the flame rat. Aside from being powerful, the Gushan people have great numbers. It's impossible to kill them all. Otherwise, they wouldn't have become the guards of all the kings. My lord, I beg you, please leave. I really don't want to die. The flame rat kept bowing to Chung Ho. Chung Ho was unmoved. Clearly, he was not planning to leave. The flame rat rolled his eyes. Why don't you go to Green Summit Mountain 100 miles away? Compared to here, it's much safer there. What's the point of being safe? I didn't even go when Gaduin invited me. Why would I go to Green Summit Mountain? In terms of safety, where is it safer than Gaduin Castle? Chung Ho glanced at the flame rat, his face full of disdain. The flame rat grew anxious. My lord, that's King Gaduin. You didn't even go when he invited you. Why are you staying here? Stop joking around with me. Do you want to die? Chung Ho's tone turned cold. This is too much of a bully. You didn't even go when King Gaduin invited you. Instead, you came to my place. The flame rat shrank back and muttered. So what if I'm bullying you? I'm being bullied outside every day. Have I ever complained? So what if I come here to bully you? You allow others to bully me, but I can't bully you? The flame rat's heart trembled again. There were people who could bully this lord. Then how terrifying was the outside world? Why would those kings go to such a terrifying world? Chung Ho looked at the flame rat. Did you find out what I asked you to find out? Chapter 46:51. Although it was a rat hole, it was spacious and not humid at all. Chung Ho sat up and squinted his eyes at the flame rat. The flame rat felt a chill down its spine. You're the Rat King with countless soldiers under your command. You can't even find a single person? Chung Ho clenched his fist. You don't know what to do. Why? Do you think I'm easy to talk to? Sir, although I'm the Rat King, I'm not the only Rat King here. We all have our own territories. This time, the Gaduin King gave the order to kill all intruders. Maybe that's already that. The flame rat became more careful as it spoke. You're such a chatterbox. Don't worry. Even if you die, Zichen won't die. Chung Ho said, You rats are born to like digging holes. Being in a group is your biggest advantage. Don't think that I don't know that you kings can communicate with each other. So, hurry up and inform the other rats. I must find Zichen. Chung Ho said, Sir, I don't have that ability. The flame rat said bitterly and helplessly, I don't have that ability. Suddenly, the flame rat's eyes turned. Sir, there's movement outside. I'll go and check it out. Chung Ho looked outside. The flame rat had already run out. When it was outside, it saw the Gashan people. These Gashan people were half the height of a human. They did not form a group and walked forward in a disorderly manner. When they were moving forward, they were checking their surroundings. They must have followed some traces. Sir, I report. The flame rat immediately screamed. I report, there's a human here. The Gashan people raised their heads and looked at the Rat King standing upright. Then they walked over. In the hole, Chung Ho smiled coldly and walked out. Although these Gashan people looked like humans, they were not real humans. They were shouting and waving their hands. They were still beastly. The next moment, they raised their weapons and rushed toward Chung Ho. Dozens of power lights appeared on their bodies, and a light formation appeared under their feet. A powerful aura was surging. Chung Ho smiled coldly and walked forward. There was no light flowing around his body. He simply threw out a punch. As punch after punch landed, the Gashan people who were comparable to the Deer King and the Wolf King were sent flying one by one. Half of them were beaten to death. The flame rat lay in the distance and watched. At that moment, its head was buried deep in the ground. From the beginning to the end, the human had not used any power. He had only used his pure physical body to defeat the Grahan. One had to know that those were the Gashan people. Every one of them was equivalent to a king in the outside world. Just how strong was this human? After the Grishan, people fell to the ground. Fear appeared in their eyes. Those who were lucky enough to survive immediately wanted to escape. A cold light flashed in Chung Ho's eyes, and he immediately charged forward. He still did not use the power of his realm. After a few punches, all of the Grashmen fell to the ground and died. Not a single one was left alive. Looking at the corpses, Chung Ho said coldly, "None of you should exist in this world. My lord's combat power is unparalleled. This is really an eye-opener for me. Don't worry, my lord. I'll do my best to help you find Zichen." The flame rat ran over and said with a fawning look on its face, "You're really flexible. However, you better hurry up. My patience is limited." Chung Ho said indifferently, "Don't worry, my lord. I'll go look for him now." The flame rat ran a few steps and then turned around. "My lord, let me remind you, other than the Grashman's combat power, they have a large number of people and are very difficult to deal with. If you kill these people today, the next time you kill them, the number will double. Moreover, there are chief-level existences among the Grashmen. Above the chief-level existences are the Grahan devils. So, my lord, you should run away quickly. If there's any news about Zichen, I'll take the initiative to look for you. Run." Chung Ho sneered. "I have a lot of skills, but I don't know how to run." After half a day, the injured Chung Ho ran away. Zichen and the rest were still staying in the Sea of Flowers. He would walk in the Sea of Flowers every day to try his luck and also to cultivate. The pollen in the Sea of Flowers was beneficial to cultivation. It was comparable to the crystals outside. As the last person in the team who had not awakened his ability, Zichen felt a lot of pressure. He could not drag everyone down. The monk's injuries were gradually recovering. On this day, he walked out of the flower house. His expression had returned to normal. He walked in the Sea of Flowers without saying a word. "Is it very troublesome?" Zichen came in front of the monk. The monk nodded. He naturally knew what Zichen was talking about. "There's no way to control it. So, I'm not going to tell you that the attributes of power are not important. The main thing is that it depends on who has it." Zichen said, "There must be a reason for the appearance of power. Think of a way to overcome it. Even evil thoughts can be used as a means to increase one's power." The last time the monk fought the Wolf King, who was in the Formation Realm, with the strength of the Light Realm. Their strength was less than half, but they were evenly matched. This showed how strong evil thoughts were. The monk said gloomily, "That's not what I care about." "Why is it not good thoughts? Am I not a kind-hearted monk?" Zichen patted the monk's shoulder and said earnestly, "You know what kind of person you are. You don't have to say it out loud. We all know." Zichen walked away, leaving the monk alone to ponder. He always felt that Zichen was scolding him. Everyone's injuries had recovered, and many of them had made progress in their cultivation. It seemed that it was time to leave. Light Fragrance did not have any malicious intentions. During the journey, she told Zichen a lot of secrets about this place. "Actually, you don't have to go to the depths of this place. That is the area controlled by Gedin. Apart from controlling thousands of beasts, he also has countless grim people as his subordinates. He is very repulsed by outsiders like you. Instead of going to the depths of this place and risking your life, it is better to stay in the periphery and try your luck. For example, if you see a large forest, you can go for a walk. If you see an unclimbable mountain, you can also try to climb it." Light Fragrance's words were very clear, and Zichen naturally understood. This Sea of Flowers seemed to have no end. However, when Zichen and the others escaped, they did not see such a large sea of flowers. Obviously, this was Light Fragrance's unique space. When they walked out of the Sea of Flowers and looked back, the area of the Sea of Flowers was only 1,000 feet wide. Light Fragrance did not appear. The surrounding flowers swayed as if they were sending everyone off. Light Fragrance said that the silver wolves had left, and their following journey was safe. However, it was also relatively safe. Perhaps the silver wolves would come back. The sky was blue, and there were occasionally a few white clouds floating in the sky. Zhang Haotian poked his head out from the ground and said, "It is rare to see people around here. I don't know if they are dead or have escaped. Also, there are traces of silver wolves more than 10 miles away. There are 13 of them. I don't see the Wolf King yet. They should be in charge of surveillance." Chapter 4652. Zi Chen wanted to attack the silver wolves, not only for revenge, but also for the crystals in their bodies. The silver wolves were very strong, and the quality of their crystals was also very high. Last time, when Zhang Haotian picked up the crystal, everyone had refined it. The effect was very good, and their cultivation had improved a lot. After leaving the Sea of Flowers, Xing Qin came to Zi Chen's side and whispered, "Don't you think it's strange? In such a big sea of flowers, there's only one person, Mild Fragrance?" Zi Chen glanced at Xing Qin, but didn't say anything, because he didn't know how to answer. There were many idle people in the world. Wasn't it normal to be alone? She's not human. At this moment, Su Mingyao's voice sounded. Everyone looked at Su Mingyao with a surprised expression. Mild Fragrance wasn't human? That's just her appearance. In fact, she's not human. Or rather, it's more appropriate to call her. The moment Su Mingyao obtained the phantom, she saw Mild Fragrance's identity. At that time, Mild Fragrance was also very surprised. Previously, no one asked, so she didn't say anything. Everyone was very curious. They asked Mild Fragrance's true form, but Su Mingyao didn't say anything. Under Zhang Haotian's lead, everyone came to the place where the silver wolves were. There were a total of 12 of them. When enemies meet, their eyes turn red. Almost without Zi Chen's order, everyone rushed forward. The last time they met, it wasn't because they were weak, but because there were too many silver wolves. If both sides had the same number, the silver wolves would have died. Zi Chen punched. He still hadn't awakened his ability, but because he had refined 2 silver wolf crystals, his body had become much stronger. Along with the punch, the silver wolf was sent flying and fell to the ground. After being hit in the head, the silver wolf struggled a few times before falling to the ground and dying. At this moment, everyone who had swarmed forward had also ended their battles one after another. Next, they didn't leave, but stayed to deal with the silver wolf's corpse. Now that they didn't have any weapons, the silver wolf's bones were very sturdy and suitable for use. At the same time, the silver wolf's meat could be used to satisfy their hunger. Zhang Haotian went further away to investigate, looking for the next prey. If there were similar small groups of silver wolves, that would be the best. Up until now, they still hadn't seen a single human. They didn't know if they were all dead or had escaped. Instead, they found quite a few small beasts, but Zi Chen didn't care about them. This was because the crystals obtained from killing them were no longer of much use to them. The power of the crystal entered his body and became a part of his own power. Zi Chen still did not obtain any abilities. If he encountered a bottleneck, Zi Chen wouldn't mind learning an ability on the spot. Unfortunately, there was no bottleneck. He could continue to grow, but the ability would not appear for a long time. This made Zi Chen feel conflicted. Pei Wenyao was helping everyone choose some suitable bone soldiers. The quality of the silver wolf bones was indeed much better than the previous ones. Zi Chen finished refining his first crystal. His speed was faster than the others, but unfortunately he didn't awaken any abilities. In the words of the monk, one could eat but not dry. Zhang Haotian, who went out to investigate, came back. There are no silver wolves nearby. Where are we going now? Zi Chen glanced to the right and said, "Let's wait here first. We'll hone the wolf bones first." Zi Chen was actually waiting for more silver wolves to arrive. The last time they faced a pack of wolves, they could only run away. But after the trip to the Sea of Flowers, everyone's cultivation had improved to different degrees. Zi Chen felt that if they encountered a pack of wolves again, they could still fight. In addition, there was another reason. Only the crystal inside the silver wolf could help them improve their strength quickly. Zi Chen intended to hone the wolf bones here to make the weapon in his hand sharper. Dan Xiang said that there were very few weapons in this world. They were all passed down from the past, but there were many things that could be used to make weapons in this world. As the king of this place, Gaduin was in charge of this area. In this area, there was a place called Bamboo House. It was said that the bamboo produced there was very hard and could be used to make natural weapons. It didn't need to be condensed, just a little polishing. It was also said that the Gaduin subordinates, the Gashan people, used this kind of bamboo weapon, which was very powerful. Zi Qin, who was polishing the bone knife in his hand, felt an unusual aura. He stopped what he was doing and turned around. After the last crisis, his perception had become stronger. He had already sensed the appearance of the Silver Wolf pack. The others were slow to react. They stood up and looked forward. The Silver Wolf pack had appeared. It was the same opponent as last time, but there was only one Wolf King. Seeing the wolf pack again, everyone's eyes immediately turned cold. The opportunity for revenge had come. Under the azure sky, a light breeze blew. Countless green grass swayed. The wolf pack approached quickly. The Wolf King was still in the crowd, looking down on them. Zi Qin glanced at the monk. Tyrant nodded his head and walked forward. He walked alone, facing the wolf pack. The Wolf King's eyes turned cold. He recognized the monk. He opened his mouth and let out a long howl. The howl echoed in the wilderness. The wolf pack in the distance gradually slowed down. Beast, you're quite smart. Zi Chen's eyes turned cold. He had guessed the other party's intention. Sure enough, not long after, another wolf pack appeared in his perception. There was a Wolf King in the pack. This time, all his enemies had come. 2 wolf packs and 2 Wolf Kings, one on the left and one on the right, quickly surrounded the monk. When they were about to meet the monk, the silver wolves suddenly scattered. Some of them rushed toward Zi Qin and the others. Looking at the silver wolves, Xing Chen laughed loudly. This time it's our turn to explode. The devil ape took a step forward, staring at the wolf pack with its red eyes. It's time to settle the score. Light circulated around Black Wind's body. Its strength had reached 30 rays. Yu Ming's eyes stared straight ahead. As a great evil beast of the Saint Spirit realm, he was bullied by a pack of wolves. Naturally, he had to take revenge. As for the other women, they were also prepared to fight for revenge. However, the first one to attack was not them. It was the monk in front. Rays of light circulated. Evil thoughts began to devour the monk's rationality. Dozens of black energy circulated around the monk. The spiritual energy between heaven and earth became violent. A part of it seemed to be attracted and gathered toward the monk. The amount of energy surrounding the monk instantly exceeded 49 and reached 50. A light array appeared under his feet. Array realm. Chapter 46:53. The monk, who had used the power of evil, was trying to regain control of his consciousness and wake himself up. However, this did not stop him from attacking the 2 kings, because there were only 2 kings in his field of vision at this moment. The moment the battle broke out, Su Mengyao, who was among the people behind, walked forward alone. With her delicate body, she faced the pack of wolves. Unlike the last time, there was a blue and white flower in front of her this time, which made her face even more beautiful and moving. Zi Qin and the others watched quietly as Su Mengyao walked forward alone. The silver wolves spread out and did not attack Su Mengyao alone. Obviously, they did not think it was worth it to deal with one person. At this moment, the flower in front of Su Mengyao emitted a ray of light. All the silver wolves saw Zi Qin and the others behind them suddenly turn into rays of light and shoot into the sky like shooting stars. At this moment, they all broke free from the control of gravity and flew high into the sky. Almost subconsciously, all the silver wolves looked up. Zichun and the others who had fallen into the sky stayed in the air for a short while. Then their bodies suddenly disappeared. At the place where they disappeared, countless green vines appeared. These vines fell straight down and wrapped around the silver wolves. These vines were very tough, like ropes made of steel. The longer they wrapped around the wolves, the tighter they became. The silver wolves began to struggle with all their might. Some fell to the ground as if the vines were strangling their necks, unable to breathe. This was the sight of the silver wolves. In the eyes of Zichun and the others, Su Mengyao took a few steps forward. She did not do anything. She just glanced at them, and those silver wolves stopped. The next moment, the silver wolves seemed to have been hit by some kind of spell. They turned over and fell to the ground. Some even began to twitch and then stopped breathing. They were dead. From the beginning to the end, Su Mengyao had only glanced at them, and it had such an effect. Zhang Haotian disappeared immediately. The next moment, he appeared beside a silver wolf on the ground. The sharp-boned spear in his hand directly pierced into the silver wolf's head. Zichun was in another direction. After the silver wolves fell to the ground, he made his move. This was a rare opportunity. He swung the bone saber in his hand and cut off the silver wolf's head. The others followed closely behind and started to reap the lives of the silver wolves. Compared to the wretched state they were in last time, they were much more relaxed this time. If this continued, all the silver wolves would be killed. Not a single one would survive. The silver wolves fell to the ground, ready to be slaughtered. At this moment, the two silver wolf kings that were attacking the monk in the distance sensed something unusual. One of them let out a long howl. Waves of sound waves spread out, forming ripples that shook the air. Su Mengyao, whose face was already pale, spat out a mouthful of blood. The flower in front of her dimmed and returned to her side. The eyes of the fallen silver wolves regained their clarity, but their minds were blank. The air was filled with the thick smell of blood, which immediately alerted them. At this time, the number of dead silver wolves had already reached 30. The silver wolves that had recovered rushed forward and pounced on the people nearby. At this moment, they used the light of ability, greatly increasing their strength and speed. Fortunately, none of them had reached the array realm yet. Zhang Haotian's attacks were even faster. He could usually kill the silver wolves with a single blow. Then he immediately dove down to avoid the other silver wolves. The bone saber in Zichun's hand was also unusually sharp. It was not as strenuous for him to kill the silver wolves. He retreated as he fought. His expression was calm and steady. He was trying to avoid being injured or reduce the damage caused by the attacks. The 6 silver wolves nearby all charged at Haifeng. Haifeng stood there motionless. Beside him, several hurricanes appeared. These hurricanes engulfed the 6 silver wolves. 5 of them were sent flying by the hurricanes. The remaining one let out a sound in the hurricanes. When the hurricanes dissipated, the silver wolf's body was already covered with wounds. It looked like it had been dismembered. It was exhaling more than it was inhaling. Beside Haifeng, Netherworld was also surrounded by several silver wolves. It did not have Haifeng's wind summoning technique, but it did not retreat either. Streaks of dim light flickered on its body. In the next moment, it opened its mouth and inhaled at the few silver wolves. A strange force fell on the silver wolves. Inside their bodies, there was an illusory wolf cub that was forcefully dragged out. During this time, the silver wolves struggled. Dozens of streaks of light flickered continuously. It seemed like they were in a tug-of-war with Netherworld, but as Netherworld bit, a strange vibration force spread out. The wolf cub was stunned for a moment. Then they were swallowed into Netherworld's stomach. These were the souls of the silver wolves. After losing their souls, they also lost their lives. After devouring the souls of the 5 silver wolves in one gulp, the Netherworld immediately retreated. At this moment, its appearance was distorting, and the phantom of a wolf would appear from time to time. It was unknown if it was fighting with the silver wolves for control of its body. Seeing this, one of the silver wolves immediately pounced on Netherworld. At this moment, a streak of sword light appeared and pierced through the silver wolf's head. In Wang Xian-er's hands, the bone sword was comparable to a divine weapon. Lin Shui, Shang Guanyu, Brilliant, and Mingyu also displayed their own techniques and attacked the silver wolves. Su Mengyao, who was pale, retreated. She was not needed for the battle for now. Ziqin, who had not awakened any abilities but was not weak in combat, looked at the battle in the distance and said, "Zhang Haoqian, go and help Monk." Zhang Haoqian immediately disappeared. Boom! A strong force surged and a ravine appeared on the ground. At the end of the ravine, the Wolf King lay there. The light around its body dimmed slightly. At the beginning of the ravine, Monk stood there with his fists clenched. Evil thoughts lingered around him, like a god that had descended to the world. Another Silver Wolf King launched an ambush at Monk from the side. It was like a streak of bright silver light, approaching in an instant. A strong wind swept past, stirring up dust. Monk's hands were pressed against the Wolf King's mouth. Fresh blood flowed through the gaps between his fingers. His gaze was still cold, as if he could not feel any pain under the influence of evil thoughts. When the fresh blood fell into the Wolf King's mouth, it seemed to have stimulated its ferocity. The 98 rays of light around its body became chaotic. Bang! Monk exerted his strength again and threw the Wolf King out. It left a trail of dust on the ground. At this moment, Zhang Haoqian's figure appeared. The bone spear in his hand pierced into the Wolf King's wound. Poof! It went straight into the wound. After this attack, Zhang Haoqian immediately retreated and did not continue to fight. In the meantime, he used another ability. Chapter 4654. This was the first time Zhang Haoqian used the Insect King's ability. He didn't use it previously because he didn't meet a worthy opponent. After the attack, Zhang Haoqian immediately retreated and disappeared. If he didn't leave now, not only would he have to bear the retaliation of the Wolf King, he would also have to bear the attack of the monk. If the two sides joined forces and fought 3 against 1, it would be troublesome. This was the plan that Ziqin had made long ago. He would work with the monk to kill the Wolf King. However, he said that there would only be 1 Wolf King, but he was prepared for 2 to appear at the same time. After that, Zhang Haoqian hid peacefully and didn't try to attack anymore. The Wolf King that he attacked didn't have any abnormalities at first, but as time passed, its speed became slower and slower. In the end, the monk seized the opportunity and chopped its neck with his palm, breaking its neck instantly. Although its neck was broken, the Wolf King didn't die. It was still struggling, but the Insect King's poison finally took effect and caused the Wolf King to fall to the ground. With 1 Wolf King dead, the other Wolf King saw that the situation wasn't good and let out a long howl. The silver wolves in the distance immediately retreated, wanting to protect the Wolf King as it retreated. A strong wind whistled past, and the monk flashed in front of the Wolf King and punched. The Wolf King was sent flying. Just as it was sent flying, the hidden Zhang Haoqian appeared again. He predicted the Wolf King's path in advance. With a pu sound, the Wolf King's wound was attacked again. When its body fell to the ground, Zhang Haoqian's figure had already disappeared. The Wolf King staggered back, no longer having the will to fight. The monk who had lost his mind quickly chased after it and attacked continuously. In the distance, Ziqin gestured for everyone to slow down and let the silver wolves reach the monk. As expected, when the silver wolves arrived, the second Wolf King was already killed by the monk. The monk turned his head and looked at the approaching wolves. There was only killing intent in his eyes. At this moment, he had already lost his mind. There was fear in the eyes of the wolves, but more of it was anger. They roared and charged forward, biting the monk. Boom! The evil, intent black chi around the monk exploded, forming a powerful shockwave that sent the nearby silver wolves flying. The silver wolves that landed on the ground finally felt fear and started to escape. Their last bit of courage was gone. The monk chased after them, but the silver wolves scattered, and the monk couldn't kill all of them. Seeing this, Zichen gestured for everyone to pursue the silver wolf. This battle could be considered a complete victory. The crowd chased after him one after another, but they deliberately avoided the monk's location. Only Zichen and Su Mengyao were left in the field. "Monk!" Zichen shouted. The monk heard the noise and turned around. His attention was attracted by Zichen. Zichen said, "The battle is over. You can come back now." Tyrant gave up on the silver wolf and walked towards Zichen. His pace was not fast, and as he moved forward, there were 50 streams of black chi circulating around his body. Not only did he not restrain his power, but he was also condensing it. Just as he was about to reach Zichen, his aura became even more tyrannical. The 51st force appeared. When Zichen saw this, he was a little surprised. "You can break through like this? It seems that you have to refine less crystals in the future, so as to prevent your realm from rising too quickly." He waved at the monk and shouted, "Monk, wake up quickly!" Tyrant suddenly stopped, and the coldness in his black eyes became even more intense. The sand on the ground splashed, and a deep footprint appeared. Tyrant was like a black meteorite charging towards Zichen. At this moment, his aura was completely restrained. Obviously, he was going to use his strongest attack on Zichen. Suddenly, Zichen disappeared from his sight. Tyrant lost his target, and there was a touch of astonishment in his cold eyes. His power was surging, but there was nowhere to release it. After losing his target, he saw Su Mengyao in another direction, so he threw a punch without hesitation. Bang! This punch hit Su Mengyao, breaking her body into pieces like porcelain. The enemy was eliminated, and Tyrant, who had lost his target, was at a loss. At this moment, there was nothing in his sight, and the surroundings were empty. The others were gone, and so was the silver wolf. Even the corpse from before was gone. He did not understand what was going on. Suddenly, he felt danger coming from behind him. He turned around abruptly and vaguely saw a silhouette disappear. He mobilized all the power in his body and guarded his surroundings. The next moment, he immediately turned around and threw a punch. He seemed to have hit something, but it also seemed like an illusion. Tyrant did not know what was going on. At this moment, a blooming flower suddenly appeared in front of him, and in the middle of the flower, there was a human face. It was the existence that had provoked him earlier. Tyrant did not know why, but he felt that the other party was very detestable, so he threw a punch without hesitation. In an instant, the human face shattered. The moment the human face shattered, there was a bang behind Tyrant. The next moment, Tyrant's vision turned black and he fell to the ground. Everything returned to normal. Zichen stood behind Tyrant, and Su Mengyao stood on the other side. Her aura was very weak. Rubbing his chest, Zichen said unhappily, "You're really ruthless." Previously, he was hit by a punch. If his body was not strong enough and he dodged in time, he would have been killed by Tyrant's punch. Zhang Haoyan appeared beside Tyrant, and he glanced at him. "Is this okay?" Sensing the power of evil gradually dissipating from Tyrant's body, Zichen said, "It should be fine. Let's take these trophies and the Wolf King's corpse first. The commotion earlier was too big, so we can't stay here any longer." Zichen looked into the distance and said, "Get everyone to come back." Soon, everyone returned one by one, and they also brought back their trophies. This time, with Su Mengyao and Tyrant, the two major killing forces, they had won a great victory. Finally, when they were counting the trophies, Tyrant woke up faintly. He still felt pain at the back of his neck. He did not ask what was going on, and he did not even try to guess. Zichen also did not intend to answer him. It was better to have less conversation about this because no one knew if the evil spirit would remember the conversation and come up with a countermeasure. "How's the harvest?" Tyrant asked. "We got a total of 113 crystals from the Silver Wolves and 2 crystals from the Silver Wolf King." Pei Wunyao counted the numbers. During the battle, his combat strength was almost negligible. However, he took advantage of the fact that the Silver Wolves were under Su Mingyao's illusion and killed 2 of them in the early stage. He was now mainly responsible for everyone's logistics work, and he was willing to work hard without complaint. Tyrant nodded and said, "Not bad." Ziqin said, "Zhang Haoqian and Su Mingyao will each have 1 crystal from the Silver Wolves, and we'll divide the rest equally." No one had any objections, including Tyrant. Chapter 46:55. There was no problem with Ziqin's allocation. The strongest person in the team was Monk. However, Monk could not be too strong or he would lose control. Next up were Su Mingyao and Zhang Haoyan. Su Mingyao was of great help to everyone after she obtained her phantom. Otherwise, Ziqin would not dare to bring everyone to kill the Silver Wolves. Zhang Haoyan was good at hiding and assassination. He was most suitable for gathering information. His killing ability was also very strong. He could even work together with the monk to kill an existence, like the Wolf King. In fact, Ziqin was also very suitable, because once he refined the Wolf King's crystal and awakened his ability, the entire team's combat power would increase by another level. After all, although Ziqin had not awakened his ability, he could still kill the Silver Wolves one-on-one. Unfortunately, Ziqin did not have confidence in himself and chose the safest method. "I don't want it." Su Mingyao said, "You refine it." Ziqin said, "It's hard to predict life and death here, so we have to choose the safest method and increase our strength as soon as possible. It would be best if we could reach the formation realm." Everyone, including Pei Wunyao, finished distributing the Silver Wolf crystal. The majority was given to Ziqin, who had not awakened his ability. Ziqin did not refuse. "Where are we going now?" Zhang Haoqian asked after putting away the crystal. "That direction." Ziqin glanced to the side. That was the west. When Dan Xiang was chatting with him, she inadvertently looked in that direction. She seemed to be giving directions. Everyone walked towards the west. During this time, they did not try to go deeper. Pale Fragrance had also said that there were many opportunities outside. Gaduin sat on a chair in the middle of the castle hall. Behind him, there were beautiful maids waving wide palm leaf fans. A fox stood upright and reported what had happened recently. From big to small, the fox said respectfully, "We have communicated with several powerful humans, but they are not willing to cooperate with us. If they don't cooperate, then kill them." Gaduin King said without a care, "We have already arranged to begin the encirclement. Some of them have escaped to the territory of the spirit demons." Fox said awkwardly, "Those spirit demons are very troublesome. I'm afraid the Gushan people won't be able to take advantage of them. Go and tell them to quickly hand over the person. Otherwise, don't blame me for personally coming." Gaduin King gave a cold snort, ignoring them all these years, allowing these spiritual monsters to grow. It seems that they have forgotten who is the master of this place. "What else is there?" Fox said, "According to the king's orders, we've cleaned up those humans. Some of them are already dead, and some of them have escaped to the periphery. Should we continue to pursue them? Let's slow down first. If we kill everyone, our plan won't work. Those who are still alive should have some skills. Let them live for a while, and then act according to the plan." Gaduin King said after thinking for a while, "There's another piece of news. The wolf leader just sent news that 2 of its subordinates were killed." "Oh, 2 subordinates. This is interesting." Gaduin King's lips curled into a smile. In the area ruled by Gaduin King, there was only one wolf leader. There were countless Gu Shan silver wolves, But those who could be recognized as subordinates by the wolf leader were the kings of small groups. The wolf leader reported that it was done by the encirclement humans. Last time, they were lucky enough to escape into the Sea of Flowers. As a result, they became very strong after coming out. Hearing the fox's words, Gadwin King's eyes had a touch of killing intent. It must be that bitch Lavender. Last time, I gave her face, but she didn't want it. This time, she dared to ruin my plans. It seems that there's no need to keep her alive. Feeling the king's killing intent, Fox continued to submissively say, the wolf leader also said that there were several women among those humans. Oh, that's interesting. In that case, send a few Gashan people to take a look. If they can be used, let's try it out on them first. Yes, King. After all the reports were finished, Fox turned and left to deal with these matters. Fox was equivalent to the steward of this castle. He had great authority, so after leaving, he arranged for 3 Gashan people to go out. Zichin and the others walked all the way to the west. They were not in a hurry, so when they were moving forward, they would refine the crystals and strive to continue to improve their strength. During this time, the silver wolves did not chase after them again. After all, they did not kill all of them last time. They should be looking for reinforcements. This made Zichen's plan to improve while walking fell through. Fortunately, the crystals he obtained last time could still be refined for some time. Everyone walked on a tall grassland. The wind rustled as it blew. The footsteps of the Gashan people were covered by the wind until they appeared in Zichen's perception. Zichen was slightly stunned, human. When the others saw Zichin stop whispering, they were a little puzzled. Zichin looked ahead. The grass was undulating, and there was a very faint green light in his field of vision. It was incompatible with the grass. It was a bamboo stick. What's that? The others also noticed it, but they did not see the person. The Gashan people kept moving forward and finally appeared in everyone's field of vision. Looking at the ugly, but human-like Gashan people, they were all startled. Is this the human of this world? This was the first time they saw another human, so they were more or less happy. After this ugly human appeared, his eyes were fixed on Su Mengyao and the other girls. There was a strange light in his eyes, and there was saliva dripping from the corner of his mouth. No, he's a Gashan person. Zichin suddenly exclaimed. He remembered what Dan Xiang said before. Although the Gashan people looked like humans, they were not real humans. They were the subordinates of the Gadwin king. They were very strong and cruel. At the same time, Dan Xiang told them that once they found a Gashan person, they should either run away or kill them. If they could not escape or kill them, they should immediately kill their female companions. Remember, kill your female companions first, and then kill yourself. Xian Er, retreat quickly. Zichin shouted. At the same time, he rushed forward. Girls, retreat. Everyone else, get ready for battle. Zhang Haoyan went into hiding. Tyrant walked forward. He was ready to mobilize his evil thoughts at any time. Zichin was the first to rush forward. He punched towards the Gashan person. The wind whistled. Even if he did not awaken his ability, this punch was still very terrifying. A trace of coldness flashed in the Gashan person's eyes. He also punched out. 99 rays of light flowed out from his body. A light array appeared under his feet. It was the formation realm. It was the same realm as the Wolf King. Bang! With a huge tremor, a ripple spread out in all directions. The nearby grass was all cut off and blown away by the strong wind, falling into the distance. Zichen's body slid backward, leaving 2 marks on the ground. The arm that he used to punch dropped down. His arm was shattered. Was this the power of the formation realm? Before Zichen could recover from his shock, a cry came from behind. The Gashan person had already jumped above his head. The Gashan person raised the bamboo stick in his hand and swung it down. What a fast speed! Chapter 46, 56. The bamboo stick in the hand of the hillman released rays of light. This was a weapon from the bamboo house, which was exclusive to the hillman. It seemed that Zi-chun could not avoid this attack. At this moment, the hillman saw the human disappear from his sight. A hint of confusion appeared in his eyes, but he did not retract his attack. He was still attacking. At a close distance, his bamboo stick hit the ground. With a loud bang, the airwaves rolled. A huge crack appeared under the hillman's feet. At the end of the crack, Zi-chen's face was pale. He coughed out a mouthful of blood. Not far away, Su Mengyao also coughed out blood. The blue and white flower flew back in front of her. In just a short attack, the illusion was broken, and Zi-chen was seriously injured. The monk shouted and rushed forward. During this time, he also signaled the others to retreat so that they would not be injured by accident. 53 rays of light appeared around him. The light formation extended from his feet. The monk, who was covered in black energy, faced the hillman. He blocked the hillman's stick. Then he punched the hillman's ugly face, causing the hillman to lean back a few steps. Then the monk closed in and punched the same spot several times, trying to maximize the damage. When the hillman was retreating, the light around him became unstable. Suddenly, he raised the bamboo stick in his hand. The monk's body was lifted up. The hillman jumped up and kicked the monk's chest. With a bang, the monk flew backward, drawing a line of blood in the air. After landing, the black light on the monk's body disappeared. The evil thoughts were forcefully dispersed. The monk tried to activate the evil thoughts, but he kept coughing out blood. At this moment, Zhang Haotian's figure suddenly appeared. The moment the hillman kicked the monk and landed on the ground, Zhang Haotian launched an attack. The timing was still accurate. Puff! The bone spur pierced the hillman's eyes. The hillman exploded in pain. The powerful force sent Zhang Haotian flying. He landed on the ground and spat out blood. The bone spur was still in the hillman's eyes. The hillman covered his eyes in pain and let out a strange cry. Blood flowed out from the gaps between his fingers. Die! The devil ape leaped forward and swung its bone knife at the other's neck. However, it only left a small wound. Wang Xian-er, who should have retreated, suddenly closed in and stabbed her sword into the other party's chest. Even though the sword had pierced through his skin, the wound wasn't deep. The others approached and attacked the Grahan. The long sticks in the hands of the Grahan people danced in the air. Once they hit someone, they would be severely injured. Retreat quickly! Zi-chin shouted. With his right hand broken, he rushed forward with the saber in his left hand and cut into the monster ape's wound. The bone knife was stuck in the neck of the Gashan man. The bamboo stick in the Grashan's hand also fell on Zi-chen's chest. With a bang, the sound of bones breaking rang out. Zi-chen, who had fallen to the ground, was already motionless. Bastard! Zhang Haotian staggered to his feet and disappeared again. In the next moment, he appeared in front of the Grashman. He reached out and patted the bone sword left behind by Zi-chin. The power of poison entered the Grashman's body through the bone sword. Once again, Zhang Haotian was sent flying by the powerful force. This Grahan was the same as the two wolf kings they encountered last time. They were both in the formation realm. Even the light of strength was the same. However, the difference in strength between the two parties was huge. Last time, not only did they easily kill the two wolf kings, they also killed a group of silver wolves. However, this time it was very difficult to deal with one Grahan even when everyone in the team worked together. Yu Ming didn't manage to devour the soul of the Grahan. Under the attack of the Grahan, his head was sent flying. The power of Haifeng didn't manage to cut open the Grashan's body. However, it pushed Zi-chen's bone sword a little deeper. Lin Shui, brilliant, and the rest were sent flying. Pei Wenyao had already fainted before this. In this battle, everyone fought extremely bitterly. Fortunately, the poison also worked. The Grashan's speed was slowed down. Tyrant activated the power of evil again and ran directly toward the Grahan. He quickly arrived in front of the Grahan. After taking another hit from the Grahan, he channeled all the power in his body into the bone sword that was deeply cut into the Grashan's neck. Uft! The bone sword successfully pierced through the Grashan's neck. A human head flew high into the air. The powerful force that shook the surroundings disappeared. Countless dancing weeds fell down. Without its head, the Grahan was finally dead. As for this team, everyone was seriously injured. It could be said to be a Pyrrhic victory. The gravel was brought up by the strong wind and kept slapping Zi-Chen's face. The unconscious Zi-Chen woke up and saw the headless corpse falling down. He forced himself to be alert and said, "Retreat quickly!" Now that everyone was seriously injured, not to mention another Grahan, even if a few silver wolves came, they wouldn't be able to deal with them. Xing-Chen quickly stepped forward and took out the bone sword to cut open the Grashan's body. However, he was surprised to find that there was no crystal in the Grashan's body. He was slightly stunned and said, "There's no crystal." "Forget it. Let's leave this place first," Zi-Chen said again. He went forward and helped Tyrant up. Or rather, the two of them were supporting each other. Tyrant's evil thoughts were dispelled again. He was still normal now. "It's really tragic. How many years has it been since I've been so miserable? What kind of world is this?" Tyrant mumbled weakly. Xing-Chen went to help Zhang Haoyan up. Not far away, the devil ape picked up the bamboo stick. The group began to move west. This time it was impossible for them to speed up even if they wanted to. Not long after they left, 2 more Grahan came. They looked at the messy battlefield and then looked at the dead bodies of their companions. They made strange sounds. They should be communicating with each other. Then they spread out and looked around for something. Soon, one of them called out to the other. It turned out that they had found the bloodstains on the ground. Then the 2 Grahan followed the bloodstains on the ground and chased after Zi-Chen and the others. Zi-Chen and the others gradually increased their speed. Because everyone had lost their ability to fight, they could no longer encounter any danger. Soon, they saw a large forest in front of them. Zi-Chen glanced at Su Mengyao. Su Mengyao illusion was instantly broken, and she suffered a lot of backlash. At the moment, she was very weak, and she nodded slightly at Zi-Chen. Zi-Chen said, "Enter the forest immediately." The forest was very dense. They might be able to get rid of the potential danger, but there might also be a greater danger. However, at the moment, they could only take a gamble. Moreover, with Su Mingyao's nod, their chances of survival should be greater than the danger. Just as they entered the forest, they saw that the original trees had branches drooping down continuously, as if spirit snakes were slithering around. Chapter 46-57. The forest was quiet. There were no birds, beasts, or insects. It was so quiet that it was deadly silent. Similarly, they did not encounter any danger here. The journey was not short, and everyone's condition was getting worse. Zi-Chen could only ask everyone to stop and heal first. If they continued like this, they would not be able to hold on before the enemy arrived. He and Xing-Chen were in charge of guarding, and the others immediately took out the crystals to recover. Suddenly, a human face appeared on a big tree not far away. The face looked at the group of people in front of it. Zi-Chen seemed to feel something. He turned his head, but he did not see anything. The face had disappeared and did not appear again. Time passed and everything was normal. The big movement before did not attract the silver wolves, and no grid hillmen came. Zi-Chen and Xing-Chen still did not let down their guard. Everyone's injuries were gradually recovering. Zhang Haoyan opened his eyes and looked at the 2 of them. "You guys recover first." His injuries had not fully recovered, but his condition was much better than before. Zi-Chen shook his head and said, "Don't worry. You should fully recover first." This time, They had paid a great price to fight the Grid Hillmen. Fortunately, there were no casualties. It was a blessing in disguise. After hesitating, the two Grid Hillmen outside walked in resolutely. They held different bamboo weapons in their hands and followed the aura. The branches around them began to move, as if countless spiritual snakes were watching the two of them. The aura left by Zichin and the others was still there. The two of them followed them. After walking for a long time, they did not see Zichen and the others. They were sure that they did not go in the wrong direction. But why did they not see anyone? Zhang Haoyan and the others were in charge of monitoring the surroundings. It was Zichen and Xingchen's turn to heal. Zichen was not in a good mood. He still had not awakened his ability, but the enemies were getting stronger and stronger. After coming here, they had encountered danger several times. Every time it was dangerous. This strange world did not seem dangerous, but he had almost lost his life several times. His invincible talent could not be displayed after coming to this world. Not only did he become the most ordinary one, but he was also the last one. Everyone had awakened their abilities, and some had even awakened more than one ability. Why couldn't he awaken his own ability? At this moment, Zichen's heart was filled with an intense thirst for power. In the saint spirit world, after the major forces left, it became quiet. The fiend gods still existed, but they no longer invaded. Logically speaking, the main forces of the major forces had all left. This was the best time for them to attack, but they didn't. The god race and the demon race became very quiet. The one in charge of the Holy Thunder clan was Lei Zhang, and he didn't give any instructions. He didn't even plan to recover the lost land. The martial heaven continent was still calm, but the cities grew more and more lively. Everyone knew that the experts of this world had left, but the strongest expert, Zichin, was still here, so they weren't worried. Moreover, Zichan would appear from time to time, which was even more reassuring. Qiao Lina was still the manager of this world, and the entire world was under her management in an orderly manner. In the Zichin Palace, the hall spirit, Su, was in a daze. She didn't need to cultivate, and she wasn't worried about her own strength. As long as the Zichin Palace wasn't destroyed, she wouldn't die. Other than being in a daze, she would be in a daze every day. In the past, she was very conflicted about Zichen's current situation, but in the end, she couldn't be bothered to care about it. If the Saint Zichin back then had really arranged everything, including her own resurrection, then everything would go according to the plan, and she wouldn't need to do anything. At the same time, the most important thing was that she didn't know how to help, so she could only wait for the situation to develop quietly. On this day, she suddenly felt that there was a strange movement in the Zichin Palace, and her expression couldn't help but change. She was the hall spirit of the Zichin Palace, and apart from Zichin, she was the master of the Zichin Palace. In other words, she understood this palace even better than Zichin. Putting aside the saint from back then, just in terms of control over the Zichin Palace, even the current Zichin couldn't compare to her. She came in the direction of the strange movement, and after discovering what it was, her expression changed. She didn't know what was going on, but after thinking about it, she felt that she should do something. As such, she used the spirit core that Zichan had left behind and came to the demon-suppressing sect. Apart from Chung Ho, the other ancient saints were all here, including the Ice Maiden. The passageway to the other world was still there and hadn't disappeared yet. "Why are you here?" The Ice Maiden looked at the hall spirit. They knew each other. "To find you." This forest was very quiet and safe, and Zichen and the others hadn't encountered any danger yet. This place gave them a very good place to recuperate, and everyone's injuries were gradually recovering. After experiencing a battle where they almost died, everyone's cultivation had improved greatly. The power around Zhang Haoyan's body had already reached 49 strands, and he was only a step away from the formation realm. The others also reached 40 strands, one after another. It was impossible to calculate the exact time here, but according to Zi Chen's estimation, it should have been 6 days since they came to this forest. His broken bones had already healed, and he would occasionally feel waves of pain, but he believed that he would recover soon. Su Mengyao and Xian brought back some fruits from the trees, and they had been eating these fruits to satisfy their hunger for the past few days. No mountain man chased after them, and no silver wolf came here. Most of the crystals on everyone's bodies had been refined, and there weren't many left. There were no other crystals here to replenish, so they were all very idle. Another 2 days passed, and Zi Chen's injuries had completely recovered. He was the last to recover, and now everyone's crystals were all used up. After discussing, everyone decided to leave this quiet forest to search for new opportunities. However, they didn't take the original path, and instead walked deeper into the forest. They planned to cross this place, as there might be mountain man behind them. It was worth mentioning that after killing the mountain man with great difficulty, they didn't obtain the corresponding crystals. However, it wasn't that they didn't obtain anything, and the devil ape obtained a bamboo stick. This bamboo stick was extremely sturdy, and its hardness was much higher than the wolf bone. It should be a weapon from the bamboo house. It was now the devil ape's weapon. As they moved forward, it was still very quiet, and they didn't encounter any danger until they saw a big tree. This big tree was extremely thick, and it was almost comparable to the tree of lightning of the Holy Thunder clan. Obviously, this should be in existence similar to the Tree King. Zi Chen seemed to have guessed the reason why this place was so quiet, and he signaled everyone to stay away from it. At the same time, Zi Chen bowed in the direction of the Tree King to express his gratitude. Chapter 46-58. Wang Xian's actions shocked everyone. The Tree King was obviously not ordinary. Why would she take the initiative to approach it? Zi Chen gestured for everyone not to panic. He followed Wang Xian and walked forward slowly. Perhaps this was not a bad thing. Wang Xian came to the front of the Tree King and looked at it carefully. Deep in her heart, she felt a strong calling. Otherwise, she would not be so impulsive to approach it at this moment. The Tree King stood there. Its leaves were green, and there was no movement. Xian lifted her head and looked up. Through the gaps between the tree trunk and the leaves, she saw many fruits on the tree. The fruits were sparkling and looked like gems hanging on the tree trunk. However, those fruits were not what she wanted. They were not the source of the calling. She looked at the Tree King again. Zi Chen stood behind Xian and did not disturb her. The others stood at a distance and were very nervous. Suddenly, Wang Xian moved. She took a few steps forward and came to the front of the Tree King. Then, she stretched out her jade-like palm and placed it on the Tree King's body. This action made everyone's hearts jump to their throats. Wasn't this a great disrespect? Some people looked at Su Mengyao secretly, trying to find some clues from her expression. Su Mengyao was a human and not a god. She could not predict everything. At this moment, they saw Wang Xian using her sword will. Rays of sword aura flowed from her arm. She seemed to want to use her sword will to cut the Tree King's body. Zi Chen also became nervous. He did not know what Wang Xian was going to do. The sword will started to flow, and there was a faint sound of clanging. In such a quiet place, the sound was exceptionally loud and did not fit in with the surroundings. The trees close to the Tree King began to tremble. One branch after another extended out and swam in all directions. They were like spiritual snakes that were patrolling the area. They formed a circle and gradually shrunk. Zi Chen's expression changed again and again, but he did not disturb Wang Xian. She was not an impulsive person. There must be a deeper meaning behind her actions. Zi Chen gestured for everyone to step back immediately so that they would not be in danger. The extended branches intertwined with each other, forming thick python-like objects that began to approach the two of them. Zi Chen held his breath and was prepared to forcefully take Wang Xian or away at any moment. At this moment, there was a sudden tremor in front of them. At the place where Wang Xian'er's palm touched, a ray of light shone out. An intense sword intent surged within this light. That bright light made Zichen close his eyes involuntarily. The combined branches stopped, and then the part that looked like the head of a python raised up and looked at the scene in front of it. Amidst the boundless light, an item appeared in Wang Xian'er's hand. It was a sword of light with an incomparably sharp sword intent. With the light sword in hand, the sword intent power around her became extremely active, and a powerful aura was released from her body. Under this aura, all the pythons began to tremble, as if they could disperse at any time. Su Mengyao turned around, and the aura on her body gradually retracted. The light sword in her hand also returned to its original state. It was a wooden sword, but it seemed to be made of water, and its surface was glowing with a glaze-like azure light. She glanced at the giant pythons and saw that all the giant pythons had dispersed in response, turning back into tree branches and scattering in all directions. These branches quickly retreated. Everything around them returned to its original state. Everyone heaved a sigh of relief, and a smile appeared on their faces. This was the second opportunity that everyone encountered after Su Mengyao, and it was Wang Xian'er who obtained it. The strength of the team had undoubtedly increased. Indeed, faint fragrance did not lie. There were many opportunities outside. "Thank you." Zichen cupped his fists and bowed to the Tree King again to express his gratitude. A man walked out from the front. "This is her opportunity, and it's her luck that she obtained it. Little brother, you don't have to be so polite." Zichen thanked him twice in a row. The Tree King could no longer hide and had to show himself. "I'm Zichen, and she's Wang Xian'er." Zichen took the initiative to introduce himself. He had received benefits from the Tree King, so he should at least let him know his name. Tree. This was the Tree King's name. It only had one word. "Greetings, Lord Tree." Zichen cupped his fists again. "Lord Zichen, you're too modest. Just call me Tree." The Tree also cupped his fists in return. His expression was very serious, and he did not seem to be joking. "Then I'll take a step back and call you Mr. Tree." The Tree King had the power to suppress him. The other party was deliberately being modest, but he could not ignore it. It's been a long time since a human came here. It's fate that Mr. Zichen could come here. Why don't you stay here for a while? The Tree said. Zichen was in a difficult position. It's not safe outside now. Rather than taking risks, it's better to stay here for the time being. The Tree gently waved his hand, and fruits fell from the Tree King behind him. These fruits are not weaker than spirit crystals. They should be useful to you. If you stay here, you can take whatever you want. Zichen hurriedly waved his hand and refused. "Mr. Tree, no, I don't deserve it." The Tree smiled and said, "If that's the case, why don't I trouble Mr. Zichen to do me a favor? Just take these fruits as a reward?" "Oh, what does Mr. Tree need me to do?" Zichen asked curiously. The smile on the Tree's face disappeared. "I hope Mr. Zichen can help me kill Zhu Xian in the bamboo house before you leave." Zhu Xian. Looking at Zichen's puzzled face, the Tree explained, "He's the owner of the bamboo house. He's now the dog of the Gaduan king. The bamboo stick in your friend's hand was provided by him for the Gashan people. Of course, I don't want you to go now. I want you to kill him before you leave. It's okay if you can't kill him, as long as you try your best." "Why me?" Zichen asked again. The Tree said, "Because you've thanked me twice, so I have to show myself. But you don't want to accept my gift, and I happen to have this wish, so I hope you can help me." "Okay," Zichen nodded. "Although I don't know if I can do it. Zichen, will do my best. But can I ask, what's the grudge between you two?" In order to curry favor with the Gaduan king, he betrayed many of his friends. There was a touch of pain on the Tree's face, and I was lucky enough to survive the war. For many years, I've never forgotten those friends who protected me. If it weren't for them, mentioning the sad things of the past again, the tree found it difficult to calm down. After a while, he said, "I've made a fool of myself." Chapter 46:59. In the outside world, after the first sweep, those who were lucky enough to survive began to move again after hiding for a period of time. It was unknown if it was because they had gone through life and death situations, but their progress was very fast. The light of power continued to grow, and their realms were also increasing. On a certain day, a mysterious team successfully killed the Deer King in the periphery. Following that, more existences comparable to the Deer King were killed and their crystals were taken away. The Silver Wolves not only attacked Zichin and the others, but also killed many people. As a result, after a new round of battle broke out, the people who were originally running away in a sorry state began to slaughter the Silver Wolves. Groups of Silver Wolves died. The Silver Wolf King was also killed. Under such circumstances, everyone had more crystals to increase their strength, so their realms also advanced by leaps and bounds. Many people successfully reached the Formation Realm, comparable to the former Deer King. Among them, there were also many famous existences. They obtained all kinds of opportunities, which greatly increased their combat strength. It was said that someone found a rootless flame in a mountain range. This flame seemed to have its own intelligence. After the other party obtained it by chance, he slaughtered a group of wolves with his own strength. Another person obtained a strange seed. This seed could instantly turn into a towering tree that could attack. Another person found a spirit vein in a river. After putting it away, it was like a long whip with terrifying power. Similar news like this continued to spread out. The strange world was very big, and there were many opportunities. It was impossible for any one person to occupy all of them. In a field, a group of wolves suffered heavy casualties. The Wolf King, who had lost a leg, was leading dozens of defeated silver wolves and fleeing in a sorry state. A group of people chased behind, holding all kinds of ancient weapons in their hands. They shouted loudly and were very happy. At the back was Moe Sien. He was also in a good mood. The last time he encountered the silver wolves, he had almost died. Fortunately, he had escaped disaster in the end. Now, it was time for them to take revenge. The team that was once scattered was once again formed, but the number of people was very serious. Moreover, only the demons were gathered. It was unknown whether Leizheng, Hongtian, and the others were alive or dead. After all, at that time, everyone was facing life and death. No one cared about each other. Moe Yen was by his side. Mo Yen, and Danzwa were all still alive. Is this how the world is? It's too boring. Mo Jingtian shook his head and sighed. When he first arrived at this place, he had indeed felt a sense of danger. However, as he avoided the danger this time around, his rate of improvement skyrocketed, and he had already advanced to the Formation Realm. Not only him, but many others had also reached this level. But so what if he was shocked? He already felt bored. He had killed both the Deer King and the Wolf King. He had even killed a tiger on a mountain. That should have been a king as well. In his field of vision, the Wolf King and the fleeing silver wolves were caught and killed, and the crystals were taken out. What's the point of staying here? Mo Jingtian said in boredom. Do you want to find some fun to play with? Moe trembled and asked, What fun? Mo Zheng'an said, In any case, when we leave this place, we will definitely be Saint Venerables. Furthermore, there are kings with 99 Tao powers here. Their battle prowess is not as good as ours. Our goal is to become Saint Venerables. What's the point of staying here? Moe trembled and said, But the Saint Venerables who came here were not seen. Perhaps there are other secrets in the depths. We should try to explore them. Perhaps. But what does that have to do with us? Do you think with our strength we can reach a higher level after we leave this place? Stop dreaming. There are only Saint Venerables in this world. There are no existences stronger than Saint Venerables. Mo Jingtian said, "There's almost no point in staying here. So let's find some fun. Think of a way to find Lei Zhanghongtian. I don't believe he's dead. After we find him, we can go find Ziqin and kill him together." Mo Yi trembled and nodded. She did not have any objections. Mo Jingtian did not believe that Lei Zhanghongtian was dead, and she did not believe that Ziqin was dead either. "What's that in front?" Mo Yi saw a small person appear in front of her. He held a weapon in his hand and was walking toward them. A human? Mo Jingtian also saw this scene. There are humans in this world, but they are too ugly. Then he laughed. "Go and capture him. I want to ask him about the situation here." 3 people walked out. They were the ones who had killed Wolf King earlier. They had extraordinary combat strength and volunteered themselves. The 3 of them walked toward the small person. The small person held a bamboo blade in his hand. The 3 of them approached quickly. One of them shouted, "Kid, come with me. My master has something to ask you." The Grecian person laughed when he heard that. Saliva dripped from the corner of his mouth. In the next moment, he decisively swung his blade. The blade flashed 3 times, and the 3 formation realm cultivators' bodies were separated. In just one move, the 3 of them were killed. When Mo Jingtian saw this scene from behind, his expression immediately changed. Even if the 3 of them were facing Wolf King, it would not be like this. "Woman," after killing the 3 of them, the Grecian person walked forward. His eyes were fixed on Mo Yi. His eyes were filled with greed and lust. Mo Yi, trembling, had a bad feeling in her heart. She immediately signaled Mo Yi to retreat. At the same time, a few more demons rushed forward. "Don't be careless!" Mo Yi trembled and shouted. Her eyes were fixed on the front. That small person gave her a strong sense of danger. Both sides began to fight. After the Grecian person killed another 2 people, his heart was pierced by a bone blade. He fell to the ground and died. Although the Grecian person was killed, there were a few people in the team who were injured. The strength displayed by the other party was much stronger than the Deer King. Moreover, both of them were in the same realm. "Master, there are no crystals." One of them shouted after cutting open the Grecian person's body. "No crystals? What kind of monster is that?" Just when Mo Jingtian was slightly stunned, a few more Grecian people appeared in his field of vision. They were shouting about women and holding bamboo weapons as they moved forward. At this moment, the Grecian people here moved out. They headed toward the people of the 3 races who had grown up. Their target was the women. Tree was very polite to Ziqin. He did not put on the airs of a king at all. Perhaps it was because they were both men, but Ziqin got along well with him. While chatting, Ziqin learned that 2 Grecian people had followed them. However, they were now trapped by Tree. Only then did Ziqin know that danger was so close to them. What's up with those Grecian people? Why are they so strong? After getting familiar with Tree, Ziqin asked whenever he had a question. He did not hold back. Chapter 4660. The Grahan people were divided into different levels. The ones that Ziqin and the others encountered were the weakest, but they still almost lost their lives. After hearing the tree's words, Ziqin gained a deeper understanding of this strange world. He also knew a little more about the dangers of this place. Next, there are kings such as Gaduin King. Originally, there was only one king here, but as time passed, there were more kings here, and now there are 18 kings. This news made Ziqin even more shocked. He did not expect there to be so many strong people here. Ziqin, who had not awakened his ability, was under even more pressure. Protect your female companions. If you can't protect them, kill them first. Pale Fragrance had said something similar before, but she did not explain the reason. This time Tree mentioned it again, so Zichen asked for the reason. Gaduin wants to use their bloodline, similar to how you humans carry on the family line, so that he can have a soul that belongs to your world, and then return to your world. This world is strange and curious to you, but to them it's a cage. Everyone wants to leave this place, and in order to leave this place, they will do anything. Once the female companions fall into the hands of the Grahan people, they will become tools for them to cultivate their souls. They will live a life worse than death. Don't expect anyone to take pity on them. The 18 kings all think so. Once they succeed, they will leave. Pale Fragrance did not tell Zichen everything, but Tree did. He did not know if it was because of some misgivings or other reasons, but Tree did. Since they want to leave, why don't they just follow us? Why do they have to do this? Zichen was very puzzled. The door is already closed. No one can leave here. Tree said, "Why don't they just follow us?" Zichen said, "We will definitely be able to leave. When the time comes, everyone can leave together. In our world, we welcome such existences." Tree shook his head. That is impossible. Even if the door is open, there will be people guarding it, and they will not be allowed to leave. It is even more impossible to climb over the wall and leave. What do you mean? Zichen still could not understand. Tree looked into the distance and fell into silence. Zichen waited quietly. After a while, the tree said, "Have you ever heard of zoos?" Zichen was a little surprised. It's to keep some animals in a garden and feed them. They don't let them suffer, but they don't let them leave either. Zichen nodded. He naturally understood this. In the world of mortals, they were unable to cultivate, so they were unable to fight against ferocious beasts in the wild. Therefore, they had probably never seen those large beasts in their entire lives. Thus, in some kingdoms, gardens would be built one after another, in which some ferocious beasts would be raised for the mortals to visit. Some of the hunting grounds of the royal family were also like this. Many people would catch some powerful beasts and bring them in. There would be people guarding outside, so they couldn't come out and could only live in that place. The Colosseum was similar. Only humans could enter and leave. Once those beasts left, they would be killed. Zichen seemed to understand what the tree meant. The tree pointed at its feet and said, "This place is like a zoo. Everything that lives here is like a domesticated animal. If you stay here, everyone will have a good life. But if you want to leave and take a look outside, it's very difficult. Or rather, it's impossible to go out at all." Is it the rule? The rule doesn't allow you to leave? Zichen said the manager you mentioned is the rule of this place. It can easily distinguish the aura of both sides and know who can leave? You can say that. The tree stretched out its finger and gently touched the ground. Not far away, 2 shining fruits fell from the tree king's branch. The monk, who had just finished refining the fruit's energy, opened his eyes and saw another fruit appear in front of him. He reached out to take it and swallowed it without hesitation. He closed his eyes and continued to cultivate. On the other side, Lin Shui also received a fruit. Although the tree had been chatting with Zichen, he had been paying attention to the situation on the other side. There were enough fruits. All right, I won't disturb you. Do your best to refine them. There are enough fruits here. The tree stood up and signaled Zichen to continue cultivating. A fruit flew in front of him. He didn't ask Mr. Tree why it was so nice to them, because it might be fate. Meiji was like this, Danxiang was like this, and Mr. Tree was probably like this too. One fruit after another was refined by Zichen. His strength increased a lot. It was a great improvement, but he still didn't awaken any abilities. This was also Zichen's biggest regret at the moment. Su Mengyao was the second person in the team to reach the Array Realm. She was 1 step faster than Zhang Haoyan, which was out of everyone's expectations. After breaking through, her illusory ability had naturally become stronger as well. Mr. Tree asked Su Mengyao if she wanted to practice first. The 2 Gashan people were still trapped in this place. Su Mengyao shook her head. She didn't need to use this method to increase her combat power. The forest was very quiet, so Zichen and the rest didn't know what was happening outside. They also didn't know that the Gashan people had officially moved out and started their plan. Zhang Haotian also broke through not long after. After obtaining 50 rays of strength, his methods became stronger. He went to look for the Gashan people, but he didn't find them to practice. Instead, he hid behind them for a while and followed them for a while before retreating. He had absolute confidence that he could kill a Gashan person. Mr. Tree had an unlimited supply of fruits, so everyone improved very quickly. Next, they broke through to the array realm one after another. Although no one knew what sort of benefits they would receive upon returning after breaking through to the formation realm, it was only natural that the higher the realm, the better. The blue-white flowers danced around Su Mengyao. Su Mengyao glanced at Zichen under the Tree King and shook her head slightly. Most people had broken through. Even Pei Wenyao started to try to break through. However, Zichen still didn't awaken any abilities. He wasn't even in the most basic light realm. Zichen was also very anxious. Su Mengyao could sense that his emotions were fluctuating greatly. After the Gashan people joined the battle, the people who came in suffered a lot. Those who were lucky enough to survive encountered the second inhumane siege. This time it wasn't as simple as death, especially for those female cultivators. Zichen, who still didn't awaken any abilities, felt a little depressed as he watched his companions break through to the array realm one after another. After refining the fruit, he rejected the new fruit provided by Mr. Tree. Instead, he said, "Where are the Gashan people? I want to try." "You?" Mr. Tree was startled. Zichen hadn't awakened any abilities. How could he be a match for the Gashan people? "I'll try first. If there's danger, I'll retreat," Zichen said again. Mr. Tree, who could understand Zichen's feelings, nodded. However, Mr. Tree didn't know why Zichen was in such a situation. However, he firmly believed that Zichen wasn't an ordinary person. The fate that brought them together must be an extraordinary fate. Zichen walked outside. That was the direction where the Gashan people were. Not long after, a Gashan person appeared in Zichen's vision. The two Gashan people were originally together, but they were isolated by Mr. Tree. During this period, in order to ensure that the two of them wouldn't starve to death, Mr. Tree would provide some additional fruits, but they were all coincidental encounters. At this moment, when the listless Gashan person saw the human in his vision, the expression in his eyes finally changed. He held a bamboo blade in his hand and immediately charged at Zichen. Zichen looked at the approaching Gashan person with a cold expression. Even if he hadn't awakened any abilities, as long as he could kill the Gashan person, he wasn't a weakling. He slashed down with his blade. Zichen turned around and took a small step back. The bamboo blade brushed past his body. The Gashan person, who missed its attack, flipped the bamboo blade in its hand and slashed horizontally again. Its reaction was extremely fast. Zichen kept retreating and dodging the attack. He looked at the other party in surprise. This Gashan person was fast and wasn't stupid. After dodging several attacks again, Zichen found an opportunity and punched out. Bang! The Gashan person retreated as its footsteps became messy. Zichen was also forced to take a few steps back. However, he quickly stabilized his body. With a shift of his feet, he immediately approached the Gashan person and threw out another punch. This punch landed on the other party's wrist, causing the Gashan person's bamboo blade to drop. Zichen tapped his foot and the bamboo blade flew into the distance. Without the bamboo blade, the Gashan person was enraged. It began to clash head-on with Zichen. Muffled sounds came from the forest. Moments later, Zichen used the force to retreat and ran into the forest. The Gashan person chased after him, but soon he couldn't see Zichen anymore. Tree's face appeared on a large tree. His expression changed, filled with shock. With just the strength of his body, Zichen was already able to resist the Gashan person. Even if he could only last for a short while, it was still impressive. In the next moment, Tree disappeared. When he returned, Zichen had already begun healing. Tree placed the bamboo blade on the ground. He was very satisfied with the bamboo rod that was taken away by the demon ape. Moreover, this bamboo weapon was indeed extraordinary. It was suitable for everyone. It seemed that no one in the team was suitable to use a saber. As the monk hadn't awakened the power of good, he didn't have the mood to fight for it. After recovering from his injuries, Zichen went to find the Gashan person who didn't have a weapon. After a round of fighting, he returned with injuries. In the following time, Zichen kept fighting the Gashan person. After gaining a certain understanding of the Gashan person's true combat strength, Zichen was also improving. This kind of improvement temporarily reduced the pressure of not having awakened abilities. However, there was still a long way to go before he could kill the other party. However, as long as he continued to improve, Zichen was confident. Tree, who had been watching the battle in the dark, was more and more surprised by Zichen's improvement. The outside world had already reached an extremely chaotic moment. After the Gashan person took action, everyone was in danger. Chapter 46-61. The difference in strength between the two sides was too great. Therefore, if the Grey Hill people wanted to kill, they could easily slaughter all the humans who came here. Not to mention the holy spirits, even the holy venerables would be killed. The Grey Hill people were second only to the kings. They were considered to be standing at the peak of this world. Now, just some ordinary Grey Hill people walked out and killed everyone. Everyone had nowhere to run. Fortunately, this world was very kind to humans. There were rules that came from the sky and prevented the humans from dying. It was like a territory was drawn. After the humans escaped to this area, the Grey Hill people could not kill them. Even though the Grey Hill people were unwilling, they had no choice. The rules were greater than everything. However, these people did not feel good because most of the female companions who came with them were killed. They were living a life worse than death. Some people wanted to leave, but they could not find a way out. The Grey Hill people did not retreat. This situation might continue for a long time. Everyone felt humiliated, but there was nothing they could do. The Grey Hill people were too strong. This situation lasted for about 10 days. Then the Grey Hill people retreated. Not long after, a fox that could walk upright and talk came to the periphery. Everyone listen up. I represent the Gaduan king to recruit you. If you want to join us, you only need to contribute a woman. As long as you join us, the Gaduan king will guarantee that your realm will improve and reach the speech realm. If anyone can make a great contribution to the Gaduan king will help you break through again and reach the head realm. The fox's words shocked everyone in the periphery. One had to know that they only knew about the light realm and the formation realm. Even the powerful Grey Hill people were only in the formation realm. Then what were the speech realm and the head realm? Hearing those words, Mo, Jeantin sighed. It seems that I have underestimated this place. This place is much more advanced than I thought. Today, the fox that could talk had already surprised him. He did not expect that the fox would tell him about 2 more realms. Only by joining the Gaduan King's team can you reach a higher realm. Otherwise, the power of 99 formation realms will be the limit you can reach. Believe me, in terms of familiarity with the realms, I far surpass all of you. Not to mention you all. Even the Saint Venerables among you are only at the speech realm at most. It is impossible for them to reach the head realm. Think about it carefully. After you understand, go and find me in the depths. Right, my name is Gusong. If you want to become stronger, only I can help you. The fox turned around and left. What do you think? Looking at Fox's departing figure, Mo Jingtian glanced at Mo Yijin. The conditions are very generous, but handing over our own people is against the rules. We will lose people's hearts, Mo said with a trembling voice. Mo. Zhang Tian smiled and said, then hand over the enemy, such as Zi Chen's female companions. Zi Chen was fighting against the Grahan who had lost his weapon. Their fists collided, and every strike was a solid attack. Every punch was deadly. Powerful energy scattered in all directions, bringing up countless fallen leaves. Zi Chen's punch landed on the Grahan, and the other party's body slid back 30 feet. Immediately after, the other party rushed forward and attacked Zi Chen, forcing him to retreat. The two sides exchanged blows. Although it was a life-and-death battle and was extremely dangerous, neither side could do anything to the other. Tree was still watching in the dark. This was Zi Chen's recent improvement. 15 minutes later, Zi Chen chose to retreat again. The Grahan was already covered in wounds. Zi Chen, who was also injured, staggered back to recuperate. The others looked at Zi Chen, who had returned, and did not say anything. Recently, Zi Chen had been fighting and did not speak much. As for the result, no one asked because they did not know how to say it. They were worried that it would be rubbing salt on the wound. The bamboo blade was still there and no one took it. Tyrant stretched his back and stood up. He deliberately made some movements. A fruit fell and was caught by Zi Chen. He wanted to refine the chemotherapy. How's the battle situation? The monk walked toward Zi Chen, and a long-lost smile appeared on his face. I can only last for 15 minutes. Zi Chen was slightly startled, and then he said truthfully, that's not bad. The monk said, you can fight with the Grahan for so long without awakening your ability. You're not bad. By the way, do you really not have any awakened ability? Yes. Zi Chen nodded and asked in confusion, what's the matter? The others looked at the monk, not understanding why he would talk to Zi Chen at this time. Moreover, he deliberately pointed out this matter. It was obvious that Zi Chen was in a bad mood recently. Nothing. I just want you to take a look at this. Golden light appeared around the monk's body as if pure Buddhist power was lingering around him. This was kindness, the kindness of good and evil. The others' expressions changed. Did the monk awaken the ability of kindness? Everyone was naturally happy and understood why the monk was so relaxed. However, the monk was showing off in front of Zi Chen at this time. Would it cause a blow to Zi Chen's heart? Zi Chen was stunned again. Did you awaken your kindness? Of course. It was awakened so easily. There was no difficulty at all. The monk patted his chest and said proudly, let me ask you, are you angry? Don't you think it's infuriating? Get lost. Zi Chen rolled his eyes. This guy was too shameless. Haha, let me ask you, are you angry? It's so infuriating. You awakened so easily. The monk was very proud. After he was no longer depressed, he returned to his old self. The others were angry and amused. Previously, many of them were worried about the monk's mentality, but now it seemed that it was completely unnecessary. The first thing he did when he awakened was to show off to Zi Chen. He did not care about Zi Chen's feelings at all. It was obvious that he was deliberately infuriating him. The monk looked around proudly and saw the bamboo blade that no one touched. Well, I'm lacking a weapon recently. I think get lost. Find it yourself if you want. It's mine. Zi Chen immediately got up and leaped into the air, grabbing the bamboo blade in his hand. TSK, stingy. The monk curled his lips and said, Old tree, where's the other Gashan person? I'll go there to practice and teach him how to behave in the future. Mr. Tree was obviously stunned by the way he was addressed. However, he quickly reacted and pointed in a direction. I say, you have to continue working hard. It's not your style to not awaken your ability for so long. But thinking about it, who in the world can be more outstanding than me? Before leaving, the monk showed off proudly. Zi Chen waved his hand impatiently and said, Get lost if you want to leave. You talk too much nonsense. Haha. Tyrant laughed complacently as he left. There were not many opportunities for him to suppress Zichen. Looking at the monk's proud face, Zichen also laughed. After the monk's jesting, the others felt more relaxed. Feeling the change in everyone's mood, Zichen said, "Don't worry about me. I've improved a lot recently. Although I haven't awakened my ability, it's not a problem to deal with a Gashan person in a one-on-one situation." In another direction, there was an unusual team. They had close to 30 people. All of them were sitting cross-legged. The team was very neat and they were all dressed in the same way. At the very front, there was a person sitting there. He was obviously the leader. "If you want to join the Gashan King, you need a woman. Ichien, it seems like I'll have to sacrifice you this time." The man turned his head and smiled. "You won't refuse, right?" In another direction, a beautiful woman stood there. Her face was delicate. After hearing this, she said lightly, "Up to you. You're quite calm. Ever since I caught you, you've been very cooperative. You didn't escape even once. If it weren't for Zichen, I wouldn't be willing to send a beauty like you to the Gushan people. After all, you have some of our blood in you, don't you? It's a waste to let those Gashan people spoil you." The man sighed. "It's just that my hatred for Zichen is as deep as the sea. So, I can only make the best use of a beauty like you. Brother Towering, what do you think of my suggestion? Give her to Gusong in exchange for our strength." It turned out that there was a man not far from the woman. Towering stood up and looked forward. "If it was me, I don't think I would do that." "Oh," the God Race man was surprised. "I'll use her to lure Zichen out." Towering said, "The alliance that targeted Zichen last time was too stupid. They were tricked by Zichen and suffered a great loss." The God Race man said, "Although I vowed to kill Zichen, compared to this, it's not bad to make a deal with the Gashan King. At least our battle strength can be improved a lot. This way, it'll be easier to kill Zichen." Towering nodded. "It's not impossible, but," looking at the hesitant Towering, the God Race man asked, "But what?" Towering said, "You can try to kill 2 birds with 1 stone." When the two sides were talking, they didn't avoid Ichien. But Ichien was the same as before. She didn't express any opinions. It was as if what they were talking about had nothing to do with her. The God Race man immediately understood Towering's words and said, "You mean let's deliberately release the news and lure Zichen out so that the Gashan King can deal with him?" Then the God Race man suddenly slapped his thigh. "Yes, Zichen tricked those people last time. This time, we can use the Gashan King to trick Zichen. Although we may miss the opportunity to kill him personally, it's still a great pleasure to watch him die. Oh, by the way, Zichen has some female companions. When they die, those female companions will be counted as our contribution. It seems that we have a chance to take a few steps forward." The more the God Race man thought about it, the more excited he became. Compared to just handing Ichien over to the Gashan King, this was a great contribution. He was very satisfied with this proposal and immediately said, "In that case, let's release the news. Unless Zichen is dead, he will definitely show up. I don't believe that he will ignore the life and death of his fiancée." Chapter 46-62. The monk appeared with a broad and thick knife. It was still a bamboo knife, but no one knew how it was made. He smiled and waved the bamboo knife in his hand, making the wind howl. He was uneasy and proud. "Hey, come and take a look. This is a top-notch weapon." After awakening the power of good and evil, the monk had become the monk of the past. Wherever he went, he would show off. As for that Gashanren, needless to say, he was killed by the monk. Zichen was still recuperating from his injuries. The others glanced at the monk and didn't even congratulate him. If they congratulated him, he would probably show off for a long time. The man from the God Race was called Shinhong. The team he brought with him was definitely the elite of the elites of the God Race. For Yue to join this team as a human, other than his feud with Zichen, it was mostly because of his own strength. Last time, when they tried to kill Ziqin, Shen Hong was a bystander because Yue predicted that they wouldn't succeed. In the end, he was right, and those people suffered great losses. Brother Yue, who do you think is more suitable for this? Shen Hong asked. Of course it's you. That fox can speak human language. Obviously, it has human thinking and intelligence. It's still in the early stages, and it needs to build a relationship of trust with everyone. Therefore, it shouldn't go back on its words. Yue paused and said, also, if you show up at this time, it will bring both sides closer. Shen Hong nodded and agreed with Yue, but only you can go alone. Yi Qian can't go because you want to use her to catch the big fish. It's not good to bring the bait over now. Also, the sooner you do this, the better. Who knows, those demons might use this method again. By then, we won't have any advantage. All right, I'll go now. In order to show his sincerity, Shen Hong went alone. As for the others, they stayed here to monitor and control Yi Qian. Yi Qian stayed quietly with the team. She didn't try to escape because she knew it was useless. Yue glanced at Yi Qian and stood at the side. The two of them didn't talk at all. Shen Hong came to the depths and said that he wanted to see Gusong. A fox actually had such a name. Gusong personally came out to meet Shen Hong. Just as Yan Wei had said, Gusong really needed to establish trust in the early stages. Shen Hong immediately told him the reason for his visit. Gusong listened quietly. After a while he asked, "What's your plan?" Ziqin has a lot of people on his side and they're quite strong. We can release the news directly and agree to appear at a certain time. When the time comes, we can let Sir's subordinates lie in ambush and catch them all in one fell swoop. Shen Hong said, as long as we kill Ziqin, his female companion can stay and contribute to Sir's plan. I am from the god race, so I have some attainments and research on the divine soul. Perhaps I can be of some help. Gusong nodded, thinking that this was a good plan. Shen Hong continued, however, there is a problem. Do you have enough subordinates? We have enough. Don't worry. Moreover, I will arrange for a Gushan person at the Yan realm to go over. Let alone one Ziqin. Even a group of Zichens would die. Gusong said confidently. That's great. As for the news, I will arrange it. The conversation between both parties went smoothly. Just as Shen Hong left, Gusong gave him 2 bamboo weapons. Clearly, he was very sincere. This made Shen Hong even more satisfied. After returning, he immediately sent people to spread the news. The news spread quickly. Mo Jingtian and the others were the first to know. He was eating when he heard the news and threw the food in his hand away. D***M we were too late. Mo Jingtian's face darkened. Who is that Shen Hong? Do you have any impression of him? Moe shook her head. Last time, their people had caused a huge commotion. Those who wanted to kill Ziqin had all come, including some from the god race. However, she had never heard of this name. Could it be a nobody? Mo Jingtian frowned. I'm afraid not. Those who dare to scheme against Ziqin shouldn't be nobodies, Moe said. This is a little troublesome. They have grasped the best opportunity. This is our chance to become stronger. To be honest, even I want to kill him and replace him. After all, he has a trump card that can be used against Ziqin. Of course, this was just a joke. They definitely couldn't make a move at this time. Mo Zhengtian said, get someone to keep an eye on him first. We will act according to the situation. Ziqin and the others seemed to have come to a paradise. There were no conflicts here, but there were countless resources for them to grow. If this could continue, everyone would be happy to stay here. Until a piece of news came out. Tree told Ziqin everything that had happened recently, including the part where he was involved. Shen Hong? This was an unfamiliar name. He had never heard of it. I'll go and kill him. Monk walked over. Lord Zhang's saber has been thirsting for it for a long time. When the others heard Tree's words, they understood why Yi Qian didn't meet up with them. She had been captured by Shen Hong. Everyone was furious, but they knew that they couldn't be rash. This was obviously a trap. Tree looked at the few women beside him and said, "You guys better not be rash. It's best if you can think of a foolproof plan." Zichen stood up and said, "Meng Yao, you guys stay here. We'll go and save Yi Qian." If it was any other time, Su Mengyao would naturally nod and agree. She wouldn't go against Zichen, but today she shook her head. "This is meaningless. Let's not talk about the chances of you guys succeeding. If you fail, they will continue to force us out. When that time comes, do you think we should go or not? Instead of being passive, why don't we go all out from the start? Even if we fail, we will have a clear conscience." Sister is right. Wang Xian, and the others nodded. Yi Qian was also their friend. Naturally, they had to save her. "All right then, let's go together." Zichen said, "I want to see what trick Shen Hong is up to." Everyone was ready to move. Tree said, "There's really nothing I can help you with. I'll give each of you a leaf. It can help you hide, but it won't last for long." As he spoke, leaves fell from above, one for each of them. Zichen thanked him and was about to leave. Suddenly he thought of something and asked, "What do the Yen realm and Head realm mean?" Chapter 46-63. After hearing what Zichen said, Tree's expression became a little strange. He said, "If I'm not wrong, it should be the meaning of language and leader." Zichen still did not understand. Being able to speak means that you have the human language, and leader is a general term. For example, the leader of the Gushan people is far more powerful than the Gushan people. Zichen was slightly taken aback. "So you're saying that these two realms are also literal?" Back then, the light realm and the formation realm were actually literal meanings. The tree said, "It should be the literal meaning, but it does represent an even greater power. So, once you meet them, you must be careful." Zichen nodded, and the group left. Before leaving, Zichen went to kill the last Gushan person. Even if he did not awaken any abilities, he still had powerful killing methods. After walking out of the forest, Zhang Haoqian went out to gather information. Not long after, Zhang Haoqian brought back news. Zichen did not expect so many things to happen in this period of time. "Where's Shen Hong? Did you see him?" Zichen asked. Zhang Haoqian shook his head to show that he did not see him, but he brought back news that the two sides were going to make a deal soon. The so-called deal was naturally to hand Yi Qian over to the Gushan people. Zhang Haoqian continued to gather information, while the others stayed in place and waited for news. Pei Wenyao came back with some information about Shen Hong. It was said that he had a very high status in the Shen clan. The reason he was targeting Zichen was because Zichen had killed his brother. Zichen did not know where this feud started, but since the other side was here for revenge, he naturally had to accept it. Then, whether it was Pei Wenyao or Zhang Haoqian, they easily gathered more information. It was as if they were deliberately releasing it. So, not only did Zichen know that this was a deliberate targeting, but everyone could also guess that this was a trap. A trap to target Zichen. "Neil, this time you go personally." Gusong went to find a Gushan person in the speech realm. This was the person who had promised Shen Hong. The Grishan named Neil said, "It's not a problem to go there, but what's the point? Right now, the humans outside are waiting to watch the show. We are not monkeys, so why do we have to do this?" When one reached the speech realm, one would be able to speak. In fact, it wasn't just speaking. It also represented a higher level of wisdom. Gusong said, "Your Excellency's plan has encountered some problems, and you need the help of those humans. After all, we can't compare to those humans when it comes to understanding soul power." Neil said, "Then why don't we just capture them all? Why do we have to go through so much trouble?" "Milord said that we must get those humans to help us willingly. Otherwise, there might be problems. Previously, it was called deterrence. Now it's time to lure." The corners of Gusong's mouth curled up slightly as he said, "This is a great opportunity for us to win the hearts of the people. As long as we kill that guy called Zi Chen in front of those spectators and promise some benefits to the others, this matter should be settled. The reason why I asked you to go over is just in case. I heard that Zi Chen is a little strange. Asterisk, 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 asterisk. As the news spread, the surviving humans in the periphery came out one by one. Some of them had even reached the place where the transaction was taking place a long time ago. This was no longer a secret. It was something that had been made public long ago. Everyone came here because they wanted to see how Zi Chen would resolve the crisis this time. After all, everyone had personally experienced the strength of the Gashan people. They were inhumane and extremely cruel. Those who were still alive could be said to be the lucky ones. Everyone was looking forward to Zi Chen creating another miracle. Otherwise, most of them would be unable to move an inch. If they couldn't find a way to leave, they would be unable to move an inch. This also meant that they were closer to death. When it was time for the transaction, Shin Hong finally appeared. This name was unfamiliar, but he dared to scheme against Zi Chen. Clearly, he was extraordinary. At the same time, Yi Qian also appeared in front of everyone. Cries of surprise came from the crowd. Previously, many people had seen the female companions beside Zi Chen. Clearly, all of them were top-notch. This person called Yi Qian was also one of them. It was said that she was Zi Chen's fiancée. If Shen Hong was willing to give away such a beauty, it could be seen how deep the grudge between him and Zi Chen was. Zi Chen also saw Shen Hong. Unsurprisingly, this was an unfamiliar face. Yi Qian was in the group. She was surrounded by those people. Although she wasn't tied up, it could be seen that she didn't have a choice. Zi Chen's eyes gradually turned cold. It was fine to seek revenge on him, but not Yi Qian. Therefore, in Zi Chen's eyes, this person called Shin Hong was already a dead man. "Look, that's Yan Wei." At this moment, a low voice came from the side. Zi Chen shifted his gaze and saw Yan Wei. Compared to Yi Qian, who was in the middle of the group, Yan Wei was walking beside Shin Hong. At this moment, the two of them were chatting happily. It didn't seem like they were being threatened. This guy is chatting happily with Shin Hong. Could they be in cahoots? Xing Chen said indifferently, "Could it be that this was set up by him? After all, only he knows about this relationship." Zi Chen, who was originally cold, smiled after seeing Yan Wei. This should be set up by him. As for being in cahoots, it's not to the extent of it. Looks like we need to be alert. This group is very difficult to deal with. We definitely can't underestimate them. Yi Qian was a goddess. There was no need to talk about her talent. Yan Wei was also very impressive. Otherwise, he wouldn't have been able to become Zi Chen's biggest enemy. If it was an ordinary group, with the two of them working together, even if they couldn't kill everyone, it would still be easy for them to escape. However, Yan Wei had chosen to stay in the group and even watched as this trap was set up. This was enough to explain many things. This group was very strong. At the very least, the two of them couldn't fight against it. Zi Chen had absolute trust in Yan Wei. In the distance, people were moving. Shin Hong smiled coldly. "Do you think Zi Chen is here?" Yan Wei shook his head slightly. "It's hard to say. However, as long as he's not dead, he should be here. Perhaps he's looking at us now, waiting for the right time to strike." "Time? Does he have the guts to strike us?" "As long as he dares to come near, I'll kill Yi Qian first." Yan Wei smiled and didn't say anything. Everything will go according to plan. In front of Shin Hong, a group of Gushan people appeared. There were 10 of them. They had come according to the agreement. 10 Gushan people taking Yi Qian away didn't seem to be a big problem. In the distance, seeing that both parties were about to meet, Devil Ape was anxious. He asked, "What do we do now?" Xing Chen added, "If we let them meet up, we'll have to face even more enemies." Chapter 46-64. The reason why Ziqin chose to take action at this time was because he saw Yan Wei and trusted him. Things were developing in a good direction. Although the situation was still a little bad, it was fortunate that the worst had not happened. A group of 13 people appeared just like that. As for Pei Wenyao, Ziqin asked him to continue hiding or hide further away. It was not that he did not trust him, but he did not want him to take the risk. After all, his combat power was limited. Ziqin's sudden appearance caused an uproar. Shen Hong also saw Ziqin from afar. A smile appeared at the corner of his mouth. "Sure enough, you're here. I wonder if you have the guts to come over." Yan Wei's expression changed a little. After so many years, this was the first time he saw Ziqin. In the past, he only saw Ziqin through the crystal ball. Other than Ziqin, Tyrant and the rest were all there. Almost everyone was here. After Ziqin appeared, he did not look for trouble with Shen Hong. Instead, he went to look for the Gashan people. Kill the Gashan people first. Looking at the direction where Ziqin and the rest were heading, Shen Hong laughed. Coward indeed. Then he turned around and looked at Yi Qian. Seems like you're not that important in his heart. Yi Qian did not reply. She looked ahead and looked at everyone. They were finally gathered together again. The 13 people rushed towards the Gashan people. In terms of numbers, Ziqin and the rest had the absolute advantage. This was a rare battle scene for Ziqin. Usually he was the one being ganged up on. There are 3 bamboo weapons. Looks like they are not weak. Shen Hong noticed the 3 bamboo weapons in Ziqin's group. His expression changed a little. Now the survivors knew that bamboo weapons were exclusive to the Gashan people. Ziqin's group had 3 bamboo weapons, which meant that they had killed 3 Gashan people. If they could kill these Gashan people successfully, each of them would have one. The devil ape in the group suddenly sped up. He held a bamboo stick tightly in his hand and immediately swept it out. As a beam of light flashed by, the Gashan people who came into contact with him first were knocked back more than 10 steps. Then, the demon ape waved its long stick and charged toward the Grahan. Around his body, there were a total of 70 rays of light of power, and the formation diagram under his feet was particularly obvious. Another uproar broke out in the distance. Was he going to fight against 10 Gashan people by himself? At this moment, a furious roar resounded. Tyrant followed, closely behind. How could he possibly give this opportunity to show off to the demonic ape? At the instant they got close, Tyrant activated 78 beams of power. Just this amount of power from the formation realm was enough to cause one to be extremely shocked. Amit Ba, junior brother, has improved a lot. Looks like you're with Ziqin, junior brother. In the distance, a monk put his palms together. The other monks nodded in agreement. They were very pleased, but in the next moment their expressions changed. The senior brother's words came to an abrupt halt. This was because the monk with the knife had attacked. Not only did he attack, but his mouth was not idle either. "You bastard! Why don't you pay your respects to your Lord Buddha? Where is your benevolence? Where's your etiquette?" As the knife slashed down, a heavy force exploded. One of the Gushan people who blocked the attack with his weapon was sent flying. Tyrant took a step forward and immediately appeared in front of the second Gushan person. "Didn't you ask about my glorious deeds before coming here? You don't even know how to be polite. You're really rushing to your death." Another slash came down. This Gushan person wanted to copy the previous one and block the monk's attack. Unexpectedly, the monk's blade suddenly changed its direction and swept past the Gushan person. Then, the blade turned and brushed past the Gushan person's neck. Uft! Blood spurted out as a human head flew high into the air. Tyrant instantly retreated and stood in the distance. You're not being considerate. It's fine if you die, but you still want to use your blood as a hidden weapon? Tyrant's mouth was not idle, but he was not nagging. Therefore, everyone heard him clearly. For a moment, many people looked to the side, as if they were asking the people from the Buddhist domain with their eyes. Are you guys from the Buddhist domain? The group of monks felt ashamed. There was nothing wrong with killing demons here. But junior brother, you're talking too much. It was really damaging to the image of Buddhism. Fortunately, they were also very good at maintaining their composure. All of them remained silent and acted as if they did not know Tyrant. A monk and a devil ape were able to block 10 Gushan people. Excluding Tyrant's nonsense, this combat strength was enough to move everyone. Seems like we can't underestimate them. Shinhong let out a sigh. He had to admit that not only was Zi Chen impressive, even Zi Chen's friends were all extraordinary. Of course, none of Zi Chen's enemies were ordinary people. 10 Gushan people had joined forces to deal with Tyrant and Devil Ape. Now 4 of them had died. It was only a matter of time before the remaining 6 died. Such combat strength was something that everyone yearned for. Zi Chen and the others were still walking at a leisurely pace. The battle would probably be over by the time they reached the battlefield. At this moment, another group of Gushan people appeared in their field of vision. This time it was a small group of about 30 people, and they were flying over. They were also holding bamboo weapons in their hands. Clearly, the Gushan people had come prepared. Zi Chen and the others finally arrived at the battlefield. Xing Qin quickly went forward and picked up a bamboo weapon that looked like a long spear. He waved it around in his hands, and it was quite handy. Zi Chen looked at Su Mengyao and said, "Don't be hasty. Take it slow." Su Mengyao understood what Zi Chen meant and nodded her head. Su Mingyao's illusory techniques should be the biggest trump card of the group. Now that everyone was watching, they naturally had to be more cautious. Zi Chen looked ahead and saw that the Gushan people had increased their speed. They were filled with killing intent. Zi Chen's eyes turned cold bit by bit. "Kill!" With a loud roar, he dashed forward. Beside him, the others followed closely behind, their bodies lighting up one by one. Every one of them had more than 50 forces of strength and possessed the combat strength of the formation realm. Wang Xian, who was moving forward, casually picked up a bamboo sword and temporarily used it as a weapon. She had not used the special sword that she had obtained previously. Everyone in the distance was envious. The bamboo weapons that were extremely precious in their eyes could be picked up at any time. Soon, everyone noticed a problem. Zi Chen's body did not light up. Why was that? Could it be that Zi Chen had not awakened his abilities yet? Some of them had such a guess. However, they did not dare to believe it. This was Zi Chen. How could he not have a breakthrough until now? At this moment, both parties met. You're tuning in to the Thunder Spear YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.